Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District being held today, Monday, February 25th, the year 2019. It is 5 o'clock and we are holding the meeting at the boardroom of the McAllen Independent School District's Administration Building located at 2000 North 23rd Street. Items listed on the agenda may be taken in an order other than shown on the agenda, which has been the case lately. Unless removed from the consent agenda, items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. The regular portion of today's meeting, the business portion of today's meeting, will begin approximately at 6 p.m. when the public is welcome. First order of business would be to recess to closed session. The Board of Trustees may go into closed session pursuant to sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following items. A, human resource recommendations for the school year 2018-2019. B, human resource employee resignations for the school year 2018-2019. And C and D, any possible and/or potential litigation, as well as any possible real estate acquisitions. So at 5:02 p.m., we are recessed to closed session. Duly noted, Mr. Secretary?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to reconvene our 5 o'clock regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees of the McAllen Independent School District. But before we proceed, I'd like to ask that we all enjoy a moment of silence. Our McAllen ISD family lost two members this past weekend, one a student and one a member of our staff. And I think we should take a moment of silence to reflect on our lives and how important we are to each other and how our lives affects someone else's. I think it'd be appropriate for both of those members of our family. Thank you, and may they rest in peace.
Amen.
Next item of business is the invocation, which will be read by Trustee Alvarado, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone would please stand and remove your headgear, the Pledge of Allegiance will be recited by Trustee Marco Suarez.
Almighty God, we come together today for the good of the children in our schools. Give us your wisdom as we make decisions that will affect them today and the years to come. Help us to work well together, recognizing that each of us, parents, educators, and community representatives, are here because we love children and we want what is best for them. We ask for your blessings and your guidance. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. If you'll be seated, please be seated. For the record, there was no action taken in our closed session this afternoon. Next item of business is the superintendent's report, and I'll pass the mic over to Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. We've been concentrating lately on promoting our tuition-based pre-K program. We're very, very proud of our pre-K program and all the wonderful things that are going on across our district with children that are able to come in and benefit from our outstanding school district. So we recorded some videos with some parents sharing what they like about the program, and we'd like to share them with you at this time.
One of the reasons why we decided Gonzalez, apart the fact that it's the best school, it was a dual language program for my son. We're a Spanish-speaking home, just because we don't want our son to lose those roots. And here, from the beginning till now, he's fluent in English. He's really good with like numbers now, and he's kind of like starting to read like certain sounds. So it's really, really like different. Like he's very like more advanced than what he started, you know, in August.
I love Rayburn. I love the tuition-based program that we have here that McAllen has implemented just recently, earlier on this year. When I first heard about the pre-K program that was going to be implemented, I was a little skeptical about enrolling my child just because I guess out of fear of the transition that she was going to be experiencing. But after, you know, here we are, early on second semester, it's been the best thing that I could have done for her education.
First of all, your experience when you found out that this program was going to be available for your child.
I was excited. I must have told 1,000 people because, for one, it meant one drop-off because I already had a second grader here, so that was really exciting. And then to be able to have my child taught by certified teachers in pre-K with both English and Spanish was something I was really excited about.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Wow.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Next item, business item number 7, recognitions and proclamations. If I could have a motion to approve.
Move to approve?
Second. There's a second. Any discussion on the proclamations? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I'm sorry, are we approving 7A?
Just proclamations.
So 7A, 7 and,
7A.
okay.
7A only. Good clarification. Good point, Mrs. Trustee Aliceda. All those in favor of approving proclamation 7A signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. So let's go give our first proclamation. Oh, wait.
It's a
Actually, they're
More of a
donations.
donation.
They're all
Yes.
donations, actually.
Okay, then I'll pass it on to Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. 7A, we have approval of the monetary donation from Leonelo H. Gonzalez Elementary Parent-Teacher Organization to Leonelo H. Gonzalez Elementary. And this evening, we'd like to thank Ms. Miriam Ferris from Gonzalez Elementary PTO for this generous donation to the campus. Is Ms. Ferris here?
Right back there.
Ms. Ferris, thank you so much. I don't know if you'd like to say a few words about the donation, or if you're just here representing the PTO. We're
Just
good?
correct.
Okay. Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Move to
And-
approve, Mr. President.
Actually, so if I didn't realize, I thought there was recognitions. I didn't realize that we were actually voting on this, and I wanted to actually hear information on this. How do I do that?
After
Discussions.
to Dr. Gonzalez and one of the staff here.
Okay, so just in the discussion.
There's a motion, there's a second, so I guess we go to discussion.
It's been seconded?
Sure.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that this item be approved beforehand. Are there any questions or discussions on this item?
Yes, discussions. Could Ruben Trevino come to the front? Hi, Mr. Trevino. Could you give us details on it, what it is, how much it is, all that?
The application that the Gonzalez Elementary submitted entails a donation for a replacement of the playscape that is currently there, and also an addition of a concrete area over to the north of the west pavilion and east pavilion.
And so the monetary donation is in the amount of, it's in the amount of $245,591, and it's for a playscape and the extension of concrete. And could you give us a little bit more explanation on what the playscape entails? Is the bulk of the cost in the ground, the floor of it, or is it in the actual playscape?
The playscape has several line items embedded within the agenda item. It's the structure itself, which is roughly around $120,000. It calls for special surfacing, which has the artificial turf with the cushion, the specialized subgrade on it, the concrete curbs, which also adds a lot of value, or it's, it's a line item that's probably in the $40,000 to $50,000 range as well. So it also includes demolition of the existing and the additional concrete.
And this is on MISD property, it's not on the city park property, it's directly north of the the track right there?
This is replacing the existing MISD play structure that's been there probably for 15, 17 years, somewhere around there.
And Gonzales Elementary, correct me if I'm wrong, they have 3 playscapes on the property.
They-
One large one in the back, one in the city property, and then this one that we're speaking of right now.
They've got 2 smaller playscapes, correct.
Could you speak to me about the park at McAuliffe Elementary?
That is a city school park. I know there's been some questions on the maintenance of the playscape there. We've reached out to the city. It's on Article 3 of the interlocal agreement that we have, where they're responsible for the maintenance. Contacted the city as well. They've ordered the parts that are needed for that particular playscape, and that's already taking place.
So McAuliffe Elementary, if you were to go right now, that playscape is boarded up. There's no slides you can go down. There's not a single playscape from McAuliffe Elementary. But Gonzales Elementary currently has 3 playscapes, correct?
Yes.
And I just want to point out that it's because of those inequities that I will be voting no on this evening. I think that we need to stand our ground on the disparities that we're allowing happen between campus to campus. So I just wanted to make sure that you explained all that.
And the Gonzales, I guess, versus the McAuliffe area is 2 different things.
Right.
Because most of the Gonzales items out there are owned by the district. The McAuliffe Park
City.
is solely maintained by the city.
Yeah.
So the city goes out there, they board up whatever they need. As per their explanation, they're needing 2 slides, so they're replacing a climbing wall for one of the slides, and they've ordered another slide, and that is through the city Parks and Rec.
What can we do as MISD board members to push the city on fixing the McAuliffe slide so that those children have a slide to go down, it's not boarded up?
On some of these items, the lead time on these specialized pieces of equipment can range from 4 to 6 weeks. The city has already ordered. They've done their due diligence as far as ordering the parts. They're just waiting for them to get here.
I'd like to, if there's a way that we could push it up somehow when we speak to the city, if we could somehow push that up so that those children at those schools at least have one slide to play on.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I have a question, just for point of clarification. If the McCullough property belonged to MISD and there was no partnership, it wouldn't be boarded up, am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Question, Mr. Trevino, if I may. You're taking down a playscape. Is there any salvageable value to that, or is there anything we can repurpose to?
I've asked, once this donation goes through, I've asked the contractor that provided the school with a quote, and who's the same contractor that's done some of the other playscapes for the city school parks that we currently have in place. I've asked them for a quote on replacing some of the damaged parts and see if that playscape can be salvageable, and see what it would cost us to place it somewhere else that we may be able to use it and not just get rid of it.
I think that'd be a great idea, and it'd be an advantage, or it'd be certainly welcomed by anyone on the campus or one of our facilities.
Mr. President, if I may.
Trustee Saldívar.
The playscape, is there playscapes at Bonham?
Yes,
Who paid for that?
city, through
The city
CDBG
did, through
funding.
what funding?
CDBG funding,
CDBG funding. Is there a playscape at Sam Houston?
yes,
Who paid for that?
city as well,
How was that paid for?
CDBG.
CDBG money, okay. Is there a playscape at Roosevelt Elementary School? Who paid for that?
CDBG as well.
And so that was CDBG through the city, federal programs through the
Yes.
city of McAllen, correct? Okay. Is there a playscape at Escandon?
Correct.
Now, there's a park right there next to it, is that correct, Escandon?
Yes, sir.
Do we have an MOU to use that facility as well during the school day, and then afterwards the community can use it?
All city school parks can be used by the district, and all MOUs are in place. They were done at different times, but the district did go into those interlocal agreements with a memorandum of understandings 10, 15 years ago when they were created.
Now, the one in Escandon, who paid for that one there at Escandon Elementary School?
CDBG.
CDBG
And
money?
that just got redone last year through CDBG funds, along with Seguin and some of the others.
So you saved me there because I was going to go up the city. So
Yeah.
all of those areas qualify for a community development block grant, federal funds through the city of McAllen. And we worked with the city to replace all of those to try to find equity within the district. Because I agree with Trustee Ali said that we need to have equity in academics and equity in facility use throughout. So it's good that we have that partnership, and obviously it has worked in the past. So this particular case is a concern that it hasn't already taken place. So now, at McAuliffe, that city park there, is there a way that your staff could install it and maybe get it done a little sooner if the city has already received the equipment? Or is this a specialized that requires the vendor to install?
The city goes and does the installation. What they're waiting for is the pieces of equipment to come in, because they've got a lead time once they're ordered.
So really
from
what
the
we're talking about here is have they actually ordered it?
Yes.
And how much time will it take within that span? And if it hasn't been ordered, what other option do we have
No,
at
as
this time?
as per the Parks and Recreation Department, they have ordered the equipment,
Yeah.
and they're expecting it soon.
Okay.
Yep.
And then what's their anticipated install date once they receive it? Within a week, 10 days?
I
or-
can check back with them.
And if you would, maybe through the superintendent's weekly report, we can be made aware of what else we may need to do to help out in that respect.
Sure.
Okay. Is there any other playscapes within the district that are currently either scheduled to be replaced or are being replaced at this time?
At this time, no.
No? Are there any scheduled? And you mentioned the Escandon was updated, because the original was 15 years ago.
Yes, those were finished up already.
All
with,
of them been
Yeah, with last
updated.
year's CDBG funding.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, trustee Saldívar. Any other questions?
Just a quick question for you,
Trustee
Mr.
Alvarado.
President Vela. When's our next meeting with the city?
I don't have anything scheduled at this point. I think the last meeting had been canceled, but I'll get with Dr. Gonzalez and see if we can schedule something.
Well, I was going to add this item to agenda if it's not taken care of by then, so that was my only request, so.
Our
yeah.
list is getting long, isn't it? Thank you. We'll follow up on that and we'll pass that.
Sam had asked my question. We have no other properties or no other playscapes at the city.
Currently not.
But we probably do need to review all those agreements with the city just to, is that part of one of our committees?
One of our
Should be in-
committees, yes,
yeah.
It's one of the MOU committees, so it's,
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, trustee Alvarado. Anyone else? No more questions or discussions? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of this item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-1.
Mr. President,
Thank you, Board.
I think we need to do a motion to rescind the earlier motion about approving proclamations because there are none, so that there's no confusion.
I'll take it.
All right, so I move that we rescind the previous motion for the proclamations.
Second. All right. Any comments or questions on the item? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, trustee Saldívar. Moving on to item 7B, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. This is 7B, approval of the monetary donation for Ben Milam Elementary Parent-Teacher Organization to Ben Milam Elementary School. We'd like to also thank Ms. Sarah Meyer from Milam Elementary PTO for this generous donation to the campus. And we are requesting action on this item. I don't know, is Ms. Meyer in
Ms. Myers.
the audience?
She's here.
Myers, Ms. Myers, there you are. Would you like to say anything about this motion, or you're good? Okay.
Second.
Okay.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the monetary donation for Ben Milam Elementary School. Are there any comments or questions on this item?
There was discussion in our committee meeting. They were wondering if this is replacing an existing chain link fence or if this is putting up a new fence.
It's replacing the existing chain link fence.
It's replacing one.
On the southwest side of the school, on the south side of the school. And we had got a bid, hopefully in.
Time for a special meeting.
Sorry. Okay, it's replacing a chain link fence. We completed part of the fence quite a few years ago, but the whole project was not completed. So this will be the southwest corner, or southwest side of the school, the south side of the school that we'll do right now, and hopefully in a year or two, we'll be able to complete the east side of the school.
And is there anything different, like ornamental about it, or is it just a chain link fence?
It's going to look like that. We're replacing a chain link fence with that.
Oh, you're replacing a chain
Yes,
link fence with
yes.
this? Okay. My concern was that we're providing chain link fences for everybody in the district, and so I didn't
Right.
want your PTO to have to use their money on something that we should be doing, but you're upgrading it.
Yes,
to
we
match
just wanted
what's
to
there.
look uniform around the
Okay.
entire school.
Okay, I'm sorry. I
No,
thought-
that's fine.
That's perfect.
Mr. President, I have a question.
Trustee Saldívar.
Thank you very much for your donation, but I think this may go to either Mrs. Benavides or Mr. Trevino. And the question is, was that scheduled, that fence, chain link fence at Ben Milam, was it scheduled to be replaced? It was not scheduled to be replaced. Okay. And this was my thought, had it been, then I think it should be the difference. In other words, the district should pay for
Sure.
the cost of the chain link, and then the difference would have come out of the PTO, because it is an upgrade, but it doesn't look like it was. Is there any way it could have been an upgrade, or right now, it's everything based on the facility education master plan is already set in play?
It's fairly new fence, too.
I don't think it would have been replaced otherwise. This is just an upgrade so they can reach that uniformity.
Yeah, just if it was, the timing had been perfect, it would have been less,
Yeah.
just the difference. Anyway, again, thank you, Mr. President.
Okay.
Thank you, Trustee
I
Sylvia.
also, I've left out, we're reconfiguring a little bit by the cafeteria also, so it'll be better for the kids.
Okay.
Thank you. It's been moved to second. Any more comments or questions, discussion on this item? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. At this time, I would like to recess the 5 o'clock regular meeting of the board and open our special meeting of the board at 6:19 PM. A special meeting of the Board of the Trustees of McAllen Independent School District being held today, Monday, February 25th, 2019, in the boardroom of the Administration Building at 2000 North 23rd Street. The purpose of today's special meeting is for public comments, and I believe we have 2 speakers on today's public comment agenda. Our first speaker is Mr. Roland Trevino. Mr. Trevino here this morning, this afternoon? It's been that kind of day. Mr. Trevino, if you'll step forward to the podium, and who's going to be our timekeeper today? Mr. Miller will be our timekeeper, and you, Mr. Trevino, you have 5 minutes. Mr. Miller will let us know if you go to the 4th minute, and we'll give you a minute's warning. We are adjourning the special meeting and reconvening our 5 o'clock regular board meeting. Next item of business on the regular meeting is 7C. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. This is the approval of donation from Peter Piper Pizza to McAllen ISD third grade students. And this evening, we'd like to thank Peter Piper Pizza for their generous donation to all the district's third graders. And we are requesting action on this item.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the monetary donation the donation from Peter Piper. Is there any comments or questions on this item?
Just point for clarification, Mr. President, this is the same item.
Same item.
The same item that was proposed at the last meeting, just didn't vote on it.
That is correct, Trustee Suarez. All those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 7-0. Next item is item 7D. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. This is approval of the 2019-2020 school calendar, and tonight we bring the results and the selection of the 2019-2020 calendar for approval, and Dr. Ibarra and Mr. Paz Elizondo will discuss the results further, and we also have staff members that took part in the calendar committee here with us tonight, and I appreciate them being here, but at this time, I will turn the floor over to Dr. Ibarra and Mr. Paz Elizondo.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Yes, well, before we start, I'd like to thank the lead assembly for working diligently to draft the two calendar options that we bring forth tonight. I'd like to acknowledge the people that are here today. Ms. Catherine Capon from McAllen High School, Celso Gonzalez from Memorial High School, Mr. Lee Keys from De Leon Middle School, Mr. Brian McClenney from Morris, and Mr. Esther Weisman from Jackson Elementary, our lead members who are here this evening, in case you have any questions pertaining to the school calendar. Let me go ahead and start with the two calendar options. So on January 23rd, the lead drafted these two calendars and subsequently sent out to the community stakeholders for a vote. So here before you are the two calendar options. And on this next slide, I'd like to go ahead and discuss the differences between the two calendars. So I'll go ahead and start with the reporting periods. For option A, the fall semester consists of 88 days, with the first semester ending on January 17th, 2020. Spring semester is comprised of 86 days, and the semester ends on May 29th, 2020. Option B, the first semester, the fall semester, ends on December 20th, 2019, and it has 78 days. Spring semester has 95 days, and the semester ends on May 29th, 2020. Moving further down, we look at the weather makeup days. We have two weather makeup days. They're exactly the same, October 14th, 2019, and April 10th, 2020. Continuing with the state professional learning days, on option A, we have a total of 9 days, while option B has a total of 10 days. And then finally, the teacher work days, 4 days in each calendar. So we move on to review the voting results. Here we have before you the results of the voting by campus or department. However, I'll go ahead and review the summary calendar. This one has it by level. So at the elementary campuses, a total of 203 individuals voted for calendar A, while 455 staff members voted for calendar B. Moving on to the middle school campuses, we have 69 votes for calendar A and 226 votes for calendar B. Then at the high school campus, we had 100 votes for calendar A and 340 votes for calendar B. From the parents and the auxiliary staff, we received a total of 2,169 paper ballots, and they were as follows. 725 individuals voted for calendar A, while 1,444 voted for calendar B. We also had a few departments who voted online, and these were the results: 24 for calendar A, 67 votes for calendar B. And then finally, we also had online district voting on the website. This was mainly parents who submitted their votes. 59 voted for calendar A and 178 for calendar B. So in summary, calendar A received 1,180 combined teacher, staff, and parent votes, while calendar B received 2,710 combined teacher, staff, parent votes. So this evening, we bring forth, on behalf of LEAD, a recommendation for the board to approve option B as the adopted school calendar for the 2019-2020 school year.
Mr. President, I move that we approve calendar B for the 2019-2020 school year.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this item as submitted. Are there any comments or questions on this item?
I have questions, but I think I'll yield the floor to the committee chair because whatever you say, it might stop my questions. And we might not have to go through this whole thing, since you're the chair of the curriculum committee, if you wanted to go first.
Thank you, and I appreciate you, we did meet last week. Actually, the last 2 weeks, we did meet as a committee chair, and I did invite Trustee Alicea, but her schedule was such that her committees were meeting simultaneously, and some of the items are here tonight, as we will discuss later. As I understand it from the administration, and the board has a packet, and this is the packet that the committee members had to start with.
Correct.
And my understanding was that at the very back of the calendar, it showed the days that are required by either federal or state that were already outlined.
Correct.
And those were already placed on the calendar. And as I understand it, and I appreciate Mr. Trevino being here, and again, welcome home. Many Vietnam veterans did not get a welcome home, so I appreciate your service and welcome home. The state requires the school districts take Memorial Day off.
That's correct.
Which is at the end of May.
Right.
And the reason for that is the ultimate sacrifice that our veterans placed, as many of Mr. Trevino's friends lost their lives in Vietnam and other wars. That is the recognition that the state mandates to the district. There's no chance of changing it, and that's not part of this discussion. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And the reason for that, I just happened to have a member of the Boy Scout troop this past week contact me and concerned about both days. He was concerned mainly for Memorial Day that there was not enough recognition placed on it because we are off that day. But he felt that if the district, and this is not the one person, there were several, and I'm sure Mr. Trevino would attest to this as well, that it is important, as he did this night, that we do recognize Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Now, what is the district currently doing when it comes to Veterans Day, which is in November, and it happens to be this year, the 11th of November is on a Monday? What does the district normally do in that regard?
Well, I know in speaking to a lot of the campus principals and practices of my own, elementary, middle school, and high schools, they all have pretty much some type of celebration that recognizes and celebrates the veterans for their service to our country. And it varies. It could be assemblies, it could be breakfast luncheons, it could be performances. It's just, there's a whole array of things that people do. But one of the most significant things is for this, especially for veterans that are employed within the district, as having their celebration there, being recognized by their peers, having performances by the students that they teach or work with, is something that is of great value to them. And that is something that I think they value, and that's something that's really important to them. And that's one of the main reasons why we have that day as a regular school day. In regards to that, I mean, there are celebrations that take place in the city that, as a campus principal, I've excused for former veterans to attend some of those events as well. And I'm sure that happens with other principals if they have individuals that make those type of requests. But in the end, it's a recognition from their students, from their community, from their peers that is a great value to what our district provides to the veterans.
Sam, can I interject on that? Just on that point.
Yes, sir.
As a veteran myself, I take that day off because the schools do a tremendous job, recognize us. I mean, from morning till that evening, I go from program to program, and been invited to speak at a lot of these programs. And just to recognize all the parents and grandparents and the moms and what have you, they're meaningful, they're meaningful, and they're impactful. And the one thing I like about it is that you do a tremendous job of instilling the kids' importance of Veterans Day. So I know Mr. Trevino, talked about the holiday, and I appreciate his viewpoint, but I don't think sometimes people understand the true meaning or what we do here at McAllen ISD in the schools, and not just one school. I've been doing this for a long time, not just as board member, but as since my daughter, who's now in college, went to Garza and they recognized her kindergarten. Every single year, it's something I look forward to with my dad, who's a veteran, and to be recognized, it feels good. It feels good. So just wanted to add to that, we do a really good job of recognizing all veterans.
I yield to Mr. Suarez.
I'm going to interject on that. Thank you. Mr. Trevino, I want to thank you for coming, and I'll tell you that as a board member, one of the most exciting parts, or to me, is being a board member, is our General Assembly that we have every year with all the teachers. and all the staff. And something that McAllen ISD does is they play the music and they recognize every single veteran. And I think that it's touching for some of us that are not veterans to see how many people have served our country. And rest assured that McAllen ISD is nowhere near putting veterans under the radar by any means. And I'm going to echo, as a son of a veteran, one of the things my father, before passing away, was always be excited about was going to Guards Elementary and seeing his picture up in the cafeteria because the kids would display either their parents or their loved ones or their grandparents. And that's something that McAllen ISD takes a lot of pride in. And I'll echo at Fossum Middle School, the program that they have for the veterans there is second to none, along with other schools. But these are some that I'm able to attend, and I would definitely want to invite you, and I will personally invite you to some of these because you deserve to be recognized as well. But please rest assured that no matter what happens tonight or what decision we make, it's never, ever with the intention of putting the veterans under the radar.
And Sam, as you move on, we have Ms. Wilson sitting here in the front. She's about to be deployed to Afghanistan, so she's a former parent of us, so I just want to recognize her.
Please.
I'm sorry to interrupt. It's kind of impromptu. I do appreciate the fact what we're doing for our students. My kids are McAllen ISD, already graduated, but just like you said, Mr. Condado, sometimes it is nice to be off, to enjoy these days with our kids as well. And personally, I'm also involved with the Veterans War Memorial, and we invite our kids to help out over there. McAuliffe Elementary School has always helped us out. It would be nice to see more kids out there as well and give them that time. So I just want to give a little
we can make that happen.
2 cents. But I think it'd be nice to have that extra holiday.
Awesome.
So that's just my 2 cents worth.
Sam, can you, thank you. Well, you'll be in our prayers. You'll be in our prayers when you're deployed. Sam, as you go back to this topic, can you talk about how we're restricted by the state and why we're in this, what that new bill that delays the school?
Yeah, well, before I go to that, I probably want to make it very, very clear. We were briefed in these 2 meetings, and I think you were at the first one, Mr. Elizondo, is that correct? Earlier this month, in February. And then it was just Mr. Alvarado, myself, and Dr. Ibarra, which is a report in a little bit. At any time, did any member of the board meet with the lead personnel in developing the calendar?
To my understanding, no, sir.
Dr. Ibarra, did I or trustee?
No, sir.
No. Does any member of the lead that's present, did any board member attend any of your meetings or give you any direction at all?
No, sir.
So all the indications are that no board member participated, including those of us on the committee. My whole role, if you want me to continue, is only sharing with you the briefing. That's all. I listened. I offered a couple of suggestions for next year, and if we want to share that, I could share that. But we all have the packets. We all have the binders, because these are the binders you've given all of us. But to answer Trustee Alvarado's question, is our goal 2 of the district is people development. Our first goal is student achievement, student focus, and our whole purpose in McAllen ISD is to provide a quality education on every single campus to every single child, every single day. And I think everybody in this room would not dispute that and would totally agree that that's our focus and our goal and what we have been doing. Is that correct? Would that be a fair statement?
Absolutely, sir.
All right. So that gets us to goal 2, which is people development. And the calendar under the statute and in our board policy starts off with the fact that the requirement of this committee is to determine the training that's required and the in-service that's required to prepare the staff, specifically the teachers, the instructional core, which is the student, the teacher, and their parent, for the coming year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that is the main focus of LEAD and the main focus of your assignment.
Absolutely.
For this year and the last year. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
All right, that was my understanding. And we are, according to the current statute, since we are not any other different, we're required, public ISDs are required to start school on August the 26th of this coming year. That's our first start date for our students. August the 26th, and that begins the first 6 weeks. And the 2 weeks prior to that, because teachers must work 187 contract days, correct?
That is correct.
And students must attend 75,600 minutes of instruction, quality instruction.
That's correct.
And so those are the parameters that you have to be working on and preparing. And again, to achieve goal 1, student achievement, student focus, teachers start on August the 12th of this coming year, which is a Monday.
August 26th.
August 20, well, that's the first day of school.
Yes,
But
August 12th is correct. You're correct.
August 12th is when the teachers start, and for the next 2 weeks, they are going through their preparation for any new information that TEA or any new information that the state has now mandated, or the commissioner may have mandated, or the State Board of Education has mandated since school ended back in the end of May.
Correct.
That's correct, right?
Absolutely.
And so the administration has received this, Dr. Vara, everyone that's involved with training, the principals, et cetera, they get briefed, they get prepared, and then the training starts for all the teachers.
Absolutely.
Where do they start their training? Does it start in the home campus? Do they start at a general assembly? How does it work?
The common practice is we want to make sure when staff members are coming back from the summer break that they report to their home campus. And it's only fitting that way simply because it's a welcome back, and there's going to be district training days that are going to be happening shortly after that, so the staff members need to know exactly where it is that they're going to be reporting to those training days for the next 2 days and the district assembly days. So it's always best to come back to the campus so they have the welcome back, their celebration, and have an idea of what the next 2 weeks will entail.
Okay. Now, I know many of those teachers who are sitting out there that are part of LEAD, they've been here a long time, many of them, right? And they're clearly qualified individuals, highly qualified.
Absolutely.
But do they need to go through that training, even though they may have been here 20, 30 years with the district?
Absolutely.
And why was that? Why do they have to go through the training?
One of the biggest things in the summer that takes place is all the curriculum writings for every department, for every secondary middle school director or coordinator, and all those updates and all those changes that are done on a yearly basis. Those are some of the big things that happen right off the bat, especially with the district days. So during that, and also the content coordinators, since they have multiple levels, either middle school or high school or elementary and different contents, they might be working with the middle school, but the high school might have a consultant, and then they switch on the second day. So all those trainings and all those updates and all the updates to the curriculum writings are vital and essential to make sure we have a successful year.
Now, this year, the district received an A rating for the district. And many of the campuses are either an A or B.
Absolutely.
Very few are C ratings. And that's a very far cry from even a year before when we did the preliminary first-time tests, which were not required to be public, and they weren't. And we were not rated as a district last year.
That is correct.
But we made a big difference 1 year later to move the whole district to an A.
Absolutely.
How would you attribute to the fact that we focus our training early on the skill sets, on STEAM Plus, and the IB International Baccalaureate programs, and bringing that into the campuses?
Well, one of the biggest things is under the direction of Dr. Gonzalez, no campus, no principal ever is doing the same thing from year 1 to year 2. There's always constant improvement, always looking for something new, always looking for ways to improve, and that's what those first 2 weeks really provide. Is they provide the ideas, the innovation, how the adjustments to the timelines are done based on student needs, strengths and weaknesses, and how those needs are going to be met moving forward to make sure that we're continuously moving forward and not being.
Now, as I understand it, you try to break down the semesters in such a way that you know coming back, especially at the elementary level, and again, I'm a novice, I'm just learning as well, and this is what we were briefed on, that the reason we try to avoid that September Labor Day off is it's 1 week back, and it takes 6 weeks minimum, maybe the first 2 semesters, to bring everybody back up to the previous grade level before you bring them up to speed going into the remaining year to their new grade level.
I would agree with that, and also students are, especially at the elementary level, they're just getting used to the routines. They're getting used to being dropped off, and they're finally breaking that routine, and if that routine stops, then everything kind of maybe there's a setback. So the foundation of keep moving forward and keep the the momentum going is vital to making sure that students are learning what they need, getting all the reviews they need, and more importantly, getting used to the routine for the new school year.
Now, as I understand it, again, looking at the final draft, there's a lot of yellow in here. And the yellow, as I understand it, are the state assessment days.
That is correct.
And so we have a state assessment the week of the 9th of December to the 13th. And so that's paramount for this district, for those students, for those teachers, to have that momentum that you mentioned, moving forward to get to that first testing site. Is that correct?
Yes, and that one is really of utmost importance because those are high school testing, retest testing days for students who were not successful the first time. That is their first opportunity to retest again and pass the assessment that they have not mastered to make sure they eventually meet the graduation requirements.
Okay. And then in January, we come back after around the 6th or 7th. And then February, then you have another one in April, a testing the week of the 6th through the 9th, right? That's another state assessment days that are required. And again, this is right after 6 weeks. And while we haven't had discussion in the second half, everything that's leading from the first half of the year is leading towards that second testing period.
Of course.
And then the next one is in May. You have 2 weeks there, the 4th through the 8th and the 11th through the 15th.
That is correct. The first one in April is the first administration for 4th grade writing, 7th grade writing, 5th grade reading, 8th grade reading, 8th grade math, and English 1 and English 2. The ones in May, it's pretty much all the other contents in 6th and 7th grade reading and writing, reading and math, and for the high schools, it's your biology, science, and your algebra 1. So that's why you have 2 weeks. Middle school, the high schools test first, and then the middle schools test after that, and the elementaries.
Okay. I do have, thank you for that. I do have a couple of more items that were shared with us that I'd like to share with the board, and maybe some suggestions going into the future. But I understand Trustee Suarez has a question.
Just real quick, Mr. President, if I can be excused, I have a religious engagement that I have. If it would be your permission to be excused.
Yes, sir. Let
you.
the record reflect. Thank you, Trustee Suarez.
Now, in the aggregate of all of this discussion, looking at all the dates are required for our training of staff, which by TEA, by state statute, we have to do. In fact, we're required to have more days than we actually use in the district, as I understand it.
Correct.
We can have up to 5 developmental days, and we only have 1.
Correct.
Could you address that, Dr. Ivana?
That's staff development waiver days. As long as our district meets the 75,600 minutes, each district is entitled up to 2,100 minutes of additional staff development days throughout the school year, which is equivalent to about 5 days. Now, the only stipulation to that, they cannot happen before or after the school year. It has to happen between the first day and the last day of school. But the key being is that we need to make sure that our school district meets the 75,600 minutes.
So when everything gets played out, the staff development days, the days for the testing, the holidays are required by the federal and state governments, which are given to the lead folks at the very beginning, they know this. You only have 2 days that you have a variable about, for the most part.
2 to 3 days, pretty much.
All right.
Everything else is pretty much locked in.
It's locked in. So in our conversations, there was a suggestion made that we do away with 2 days in Thanksgiving, the Monday, the 25th, and Tuesday, the 26th. And that way, 1 day could go to September the 3rd, and another day could go to November the 11th, which is Veterans Day. As I recall, our discussion was that's the only way you could accommodate those 2 dates.
That is correct.
Now, within the city of McAllen, there's 7 school districts. And we asked you to find out, of those 7 school districts within, an IDEA Academy, so 1 charter, of those 7 ISDs and 1 charter, how many of them have the week of Thanksgiving off?
Pretty much everybody.
Everybody.
That is correct.
All right. Now, in the Hidalgo County area, how many school districts have the whole week of Thanksgiving off?
I can't give an exact number, but I would say it's about close to 100%.
Yeah, the information we got was that all of them did.
Yes.
In fact, there's 38 school districts and several charters in Region 1, and all of them take the week of Thanksgiving off. So if McAllen ISD, which by the way led to go to a full week years ago when Mr. Vela and I first started, because we used to have 2 days, school days during that week, we led the rest of the region to move to a full week off. Is that correct with Lee? Is that what we did? Is that what y'all recommended years ago? Okay.
Because of attendance purposes. I mean, you're going to have students.
If you would, come on.
Coach, if you would approach the podium, we'd welcome your remarks.
Now, we took into consideration a lot of these days that we took, or we have off, is because a lot of these days, parents, I mean, if you give them 2 days to go to school, they're not there those 2 days. So the district's going to lose a lot of funding for attendance purposes. And, you know, it's a lot of work. We did a lot of work, a lot of consideration. Me, personally, at Memorial, I asked custodians, I asked administrators, I asked librarians, I asked nurses, counselors, teachers, students, and not all of them wanted that week off. Because, one reason is that we do not have the luxury of, you know, a lot of the teachers, we work up to the 21st, 22nd, and, you know, where a lot of parents and other people have the luxury of, you know, doing their Christmas shopping, because we have families also. And that week right there helps us get ready for the holiday season. So that was one reason why we like that 1 week off. And of course, the second one is the funding. It's all about the money. So, and that's why we considered a lot of these options. But bottom line, I did personally ask a lot of our staff, custodial, cafeteria people, and they did specifically say they wanted that 1 week off.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Gonzalez.
When talking about funding, we asked Dr. Ibarra what would be the equivalent. We have up on page 3 of the PowerPoint about absences and their financial impact. What might be the equivalent, since we haven't done this in quite a while, if we took the 2 days in Monday and Tuesday of Thanksgiving week, it would be the equivalent similar to the Friday before spring break, which we do have some folks that, students that decide to take off a day early,
Right.
and that totaled for that one day almost $32,000 in lost ADA. And the other one would be the Monday after Easter, which in the past we've had, again, folks that do not come to school that day, and that's about almost $36,000. So over $30,000 per day the district would lose in ADA and students not being there. And you would, from what I understand, again, from the discussions we had, Dr. Ibarra, is that every day a child is in the classroom with their teacher is a day that prepares that child for the future.
That is absolutely correct.
Okay, and so it's paramount that we have these opportunities there. The last thing I want to make before I make a couple of suggestions going into next year that may help us move beyond this, because this is a governance issue. The board can only vote on A or B. We can't alter or change it. If we don't vote on it, then it goes back. And I'm not inclined to do that from a governance standpoint. We've never done that before. And that is this, that again, these 2 days, from a teacher's standpoint, I would think at this point in time, and correct me if I'm wrong, it would be seen as a benefit, as an opportunity that I've brought my students up to grade level the first semester or two, and now I've started them into their grade level. If they were third grade or gone to the fourth grade, and I'm moving them towards their testing less than 3 weeks later, this is a good reprieve for me and my family to have as a teacher.
Agree. And I think every staff member would agree with that statement.
Okay. That they would see it now as a benefit since the district is moving in that direction, and we were the lead to move in that direction for this region.
Absolutely.
Okay. One of the suggestions that we talked about going into the future is a couple of things. There's another one that was suggested is that we look at October, one of the days that's scheduled for teachers to work but not students, as a day off also, and that would be Columbus Day. Now, in the state of Texas, it's a holiday. And the state of Texas does not have anything different than that day for celebration. But a suggestion to be made, and I think it's something we should talk about going into the future, and I understand you've done some research on this, that there has to be a certain steps taken for Indigenous Peoples Day recognition, and that maybe we have a proclamation for that week. But I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, we have to do that in conjunction with a city government.
To my understanding, and it's early, I've been in contact with some people at City Hall. But the first thing, what you said is a proclamation is definitely one way of going about it, to changing it for that day. Now, changing it long-term, that is something that they still haven't gone back to us and how that works. But, and researching, Austin was the last city that did it back in 2017. And it did go through their city council. So we're trying to figure out all the steps or the process for that. But right now, I don't have much more information other than proclamation is something definitely that our school district can look at moving forward.
Yeah, because as an official holiday, the state mandates that, and it says it's Columbus Day.
Right.
So that would give us an opportunity to kind of maybe have both of them if we had to. The other is, as we go forward, use the thought exchange to maybe have a third option variable. I understand that there was a vote and there was a consensus raised, but maybe early on, a third variable or fourth, and maybe you do have 4 or 5 variables that you're working your way through before you come down to 2, that include that week of Thanksgiving, taking those 2 days and plugging them somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Again, if that's the administration's recommendation. Now, I did not get the impression from the administration, based on the 2 briefings and today, that you want to start with that September 3rd because you want kids to get acclimated rather quickly. And Veterans Day, I think if you had a veteran in the group, and I don't know if you do.
We do.
And what's his thought on this, his take regarding the 11th, if that's something in the future to consider?
Well, my thought, since I've been working for the district, like Mr. Alvarado was saying, we have some great celebrations. And up until this year, as a matter of fact, Mr. Soto, and several of the veterans at my campus acted as the color guard, but since Mr. Soto retired and you moved a couple of our veterans away from our campus, we had the color guard from Roe come over. And it's been a great celebration. We have a lot of students that bring pictures and stories of their relatives. And we do a 1.5 hour long celebration in the gym. And then the veterans are honored with a little breakfast afterwards. And then this year they also bought us lunch. And so I'm here to serve as a veteran and serve the district and the campus is one of the things that I believe is part of my service. But if I were to go to another celebration, I would feel no compunction about taking the day off and going and doing that on my own.
Thank you, Mr. Keith.
You bet.
May I say something?
Yes, if you would.
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit hoarse. I've got a cold. As a northern transplant, Thanksgiving, that full week is essential. A lot of northern folk travel up to Michigan and different parts of the northern part of the United States, and more so than we do at Christmas time. So it really is seen as an added benefit. And I don't know of any teacher that would like a 3-day Thanksgiving holiday. I don't know of any. But just take us northern people into account. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. Again, I'm not buying and selling. I was asked to report. I was not a part in any of the discussions. I did not give any direction, nor did Mr. Alvarado. We heard it as you're seeing it, and we got the binder, and we followed it. And the only suggestions I made was to look at those 2 days and how they would use it. and what other possibilities, as I've made suggestions today going forward. But I'm a strict governance individual, and the board has no authority to direct, lead in any way, especially when it comes to the training component. That is mandated by the state, and that is the sole purpose of starting it. And then the testing days are all there, and then the holidays are all there. So we're really talking about 2.5 days. And that means you'd have to take it from Thanksgiving, and I'm not inclined to do that to teachers that have worked really, really hard to prepare our students. And it really comes down to this. We are where we are today as an A-plus district, a post-secondary, and winning all sorts of accolades in this district. We saw a lot of students winning this weekend and competing, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the teachers are well taken care of. We listen to them, and we should listen to the teachers tonight. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Trustee Saldívar.
Just a couple points. In 2005, we were able to implement our own schedule. We started somewhere around August, the second week of August. But it was around there, I don't recall the exact date, year, the state implemented this tourism bill, and it handcuffed us as school district, and we had to start to 26. It is unfair that we have to abide by that. It puts us in this situation. It gives us 2 or 3 days that we're allowed to choose from, but yet charter schools, can do it. And the only way we can do this, if we go to something what they call district innovation, where we have to go through this whole process. And we tried it not too long ago, and it failed because, there's a lot of mandates in that where you were allowed to hire teachers that are not qualified or don't have the qualifications. And we didn't want to do that. We made it clear that we just wanted to do the calendar. But even then, so I say all this, and it's not fair to us, to a lot of the parents here, but the state did that to us, and over a tourism bill. And so I wish we weren't in this situation, but we are. And so the second is just on the lead committee. I know y'all probably feel the same way I do, that you had more latitude to actually have a more robust calendar, but they're left without a lot of options. So my second thing I'm going to ask, if you can just walk me through what the lead committee is, because I'm sure there's a lot of people don't know what that is. So if I don't know who to direct that to, or Ms. Elizondo, can you just talk about how they vote on, or Dr. Ibarra's probably.
The voting process?
Yes, sir.
Usually the way it works is once we go to the lead committee, we spend.
I'm sorry, not the voting process. How do we get to the lead committee? Who comprises it? How does the school vote for each representative?
Yes, I can go ahead and explain that. Okay, so the lead is mandated, as you know, is the site-based decision-making. We call it Lead Leaders in Education Assembly for the district, but it's our district site-based decision committee. And so it is mandated, they have to be elected by their peers. So every campus selects a lead member that represents them at the lead meetings, and we have a minimum of 4 meetings, up to 6, depending on the need. And one of the tasks that lead has is, again, the approval of the staff development days, which for us is synonymous with the school calendar. And so, again, they serve 2-year terms. And so these individuals that are here with us tonight are either on their first year or their second-year term. After each lead meeting, they report back to their peers during a staff meeting, everything that happened at lead. Lead is responsible for instructional concerns, instructional calendar, instructional curriculum, and instruction, basically. That's what we were charged with.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Trustee Alvarado. Any further comments or questions? Trustee Esparza.
Go ahead.
You go ahead, I have a lot.
Just real quick, thank you all for all your work that you do on the committee and reaching out to your staff and your colleagues to find out what their concerns are. I reached out to some also just to find out, because I got calls in the past, and I brought this up with Dr. Ibarra before. And the key one that everybody was concerned about was finishing the semester in December, because it used to be that way, and then we switched, and we brought it back to finishing in December. And that seemed to be what a lot of the staff wants. And I can understand why, so that the kids don't come back after the holidays and have to wait 2 more weeks to take exams. My complaint has always been, or concern, and we still seem to not be able to have fixed it. The second semester has 95 days. The first semester has 79 days. It's difference there, but I think it's 16 days, 2 weeks. You have 2 6 weeks, the first and the second one. Well, actually, this is for this school year, that has 25 and 24 days. And I heard this from staff, that you're shorting kids, you're telling them this is a 6 weeks period, and 25 days is not a 6-week period. 24 days is not a 6-week period. You're forcing staff to put 6 weeks of curriculum into 4 weeks or 5 weeks. You're forcing kids to have to earn a grade for 6 weeks in 4 weeks or 5 weeks. And it looks like everybody's doing it, but that doesn't mean we have to do it. It just seems like there's got to be a way that we can bring some of those days from the second semester. If you pull out 5 somewhere, I mean, that would add 2 or 3 to each of the first and second 6 weeks. And the new calendars, I believe for next year, what slide was that, Mrs. Ivada? The one that has next year's?
32, if you're looking at the comparison of the 6 weeks that you're referencing.
Yeah, for next year, option A had it, with the 30, 29, and 29, but then that was the one that ended in January. Is there any way, there's got to be a way, to put the days in there where we still finish in December?
Oh, to answer your
Yes.
concern, there's 2
Thanksgiving.
things that you're bringing up there. In regards to the number of days, one thing that the lead committee always keeps in mind is the second semester is heavily tested. There's a lot of state assessments in April, there's the STAR assessment, there's the TELPUS assessment, and then they also have the APIB exams in May. So there's a lot more testing the second semester in comparison to the first. In regards to what else we can do, our options are very limited, simply because what Mr. Alvarado and Ms. Alvarado were talking about is those first 2 weeks right off the bat, we can't start till the 26th. So when you have those 10 days right off the bat, I mean, they're 10 days for a reason, because our first day is mandated. It's the 4th Monday in August, which is the 26th. And if you go there all the way as far as, we try to push it as far as we can, December 23rd, December 24th, but that's as far as we're going to be able to go if we want to end the semester in December. Now, if we really want to expand it, then we would have to possibly look at January.
And I'm only going on something you mentioned right now when you said that the kids come back after 3 months off in the summer and you're playing catch-up. Well, you're playing catch-up in less time. And so, I mean, it's, other than what he suggested, we contact our legislators and see about changing it. Everybody pick up the phone, and if you need their address, I'll give it to you.
Mr. President, if I may.
Dr. Gonzalez, yield the floor to Ms. V.
I just wanted to just note, and I'm sure everyone remembers it, in May of 2018, with the help of LEAD, listening to the teachers' concerns about the 5-week grading periods that would come upon them, and even in the third 6 weeks where they'd have to do a week of semester exams, and sometimes it meant 4 weeks of work. It was worked in to minimize the grading regulation. So in a 5-week grading period, instead of it being 3 major assessments, it's 2, and instead of it being 4 minor assessments, 4 quizzes, which would be 1 grade a week, they cut it down to 3. So it was 1 grade a week, be it a minor or a major, in the 5-week grading period.
But are we hurting the kids by doing that? Because you're giving them less opportunity to prove themselves. Yeah, we cut back, but and that's not helping. I don't see that as helping the kids. It seems like more that it's hurting. And I'm not blaming anybody for this. I'm not blaming staff. I know that it's hard being in the classroom, but that doesn't seem like that's a good option for the kids. You have less tests, less opportunity to keep your grade up.
Mr. Esparza, if I may, what we're doing is we are realigning the curriculum. We're still covering the same amount of curriculum by the end of the year. It's just that we're realigning the stopping points. And so now, for instance, one of the major concerns, especially at the elementary, is the Sharon Wells curriculum, because that is outsourced. So what we're doing for this coming year is that we're asking them to align their curriculum to meet our calendar, and so they're willing to do that. So that's how we're going to adjust, so that the students, the teachers are teaching in a 5-week period, for 5 weeks worth of material, and testing 5 weeks worth of material. So that's what we did hear concerns, especially from the elementary. The curriculum that's written in-house by our coordinators, that we can align it to meet the calendar needs. So that's how we're addressing it.
And that's good, but it's just one subject area, right? I mean, it's...
What we outsource is a concern. What we outsource, which would be the Sharon Wells and the and the paralyzed math, because that is not curriculum that's written by our content coordinators.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
We can bring up district innovation again, try it one more time.
You said right
Just for the calendar, why not?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. The point I was going to make was exactly the point that Ms. V made, and to Trustee Esparza's point, that's one of the challenges that we do face in working with the staff is the short grading periods, but we believe that we're still providing a quality experience for our students, and we're being very specific with our benchmarking and things of that sort. So we feel confident, although it's not the best situation. We wish we would have had 6 grade weeks all the way through. It's the best that we can do, and our teachers are doing a great job. So we're comfortable that we were able to make some adjustments in the amount of grades, and we're comfortable with where we're at given the circumstances. But I mean, the best case scenario would be to have a balanced semester. One thing to keep in mind also is in the spring semester, we have approximately 14 assessment days, so it's real heavy on the assessment side, so kind of balances things out when you play the game.
Can you monitor Mission? They're going to try to calendar district innovation, and I'm not for it. I am not. But the only way this is probably the only thing that we can do to accommodate all this. Can you just monitor it? Because I think there's more of movement, because a lot of districts are like us, frustrated that our hands are tied. So I saw it in a newspaper, or was it a tweet, or someone tweeted that they're going to look at it. So I'm just curious. I'm seeing if there's an appetite to change that, because that's the only solution we have other than someone passing another bill, and I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Yes, sir. And at this point, we are monitoring the situation in Mission very closely to see how they're rolling it out. And at this point, we feel comfortable with where we're at, given the situation. So that's not something that we're looking at right now with regard to District of Innovation.
No, I agree. And Mr. Spasa, I'm not for it.
To take the 14 days of testing that are required in the spring, if you subtract those, you're down to 81 instructional days out of the 95. And again, when you look at everybody voted, from all grade levels, and it's a significant gap between the A and the B.
Trustee Aliceda.
Ms. Ibarra, Dr. Ibarra, I have a lot of questions, so I think it'd be easier if we go in the order of the slides. The first slide that I'm looking at, it's the parameters, that slide right there. That slide right there is concerning to me because it doesn't have the spring break for UTRGV. UTRGV is the largest employer in McAllen. It has 4,100 employees that live in the McAllen area. DHR has 4,000, MISD has 3,400. UTRGV's spring break is March 9th. It's the week before. And so that's concerning to me because when the calendar committee got their 2 options to look at, already blocked out for them. It wasn't an organic thing. They had to them, the sheets already had blocked out the entire week of spring break and already had blocked out the entire week of Thanksgiving holiday. So they were not able to, the days that they were able to manipulate were things like Columbus Day, Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, Veterans Day. Those were the few dates that they were manipulating to me. To me, it increases a hardship for, I know, all of my friends that, their children in the school district, most of them, a majority of them work for the University of Texas RGV. To have the spring break at a separate spring break when they're off is to me a hardship. It's a hardship, one, because you're not going to be able to vacation together, but 2, it's a hardship financially because now you have to have daycare for the entire week of spring break that MISD has spring break. So I would have liked the data of the rationale of who do we serve? We serve, the customers that we serve, what's the highest employer? The highest employer is UTRGV. They take that week. So that's one thing that I would have liked, that the committee had that information, that they could have discussed, let's move it there because let's look at the city of McAllen, let's look at MISD, let's look at DHR, let's look at UTRGV, the biggest employers in the city of McAllen, and their week is the week before. That week is also the exact same week of UTSA, it's the week of A&M, it's the week of TCU, and it's the week of Baylor. I think that really needs to be looked at because that creates an undue hardship. The next slide that I wanted to go to in mine, it has the testing dates to consider. for right there, it has April 10th, Friday, April 10th, as an all-star makeup day. But in the calendar that's presented, that has that's going to be a school holiday. Could you address that and explain to me why that's a school holiday when the state has STAR testing that day?
I can explain that. But what happened is when we first did this with the lead committee, one of our biggest concerns from the lead committee was that makeup testing day in April was going to fall on Good Friday. And we were lucky the day before we sent out to the calendar to vote, TA sent a release that they made a change. And the only change that took place was the English 2 assessment. Instead of testing on Wednesday, was moved up to Tuesday, so they could make Thursday the makeup day and not have a conflict with that Good Friday day. So that's just probably it's a typo is what it was, but that was the original assessment calendar, and it's changed twice this year already, which is highly unusual. The changes usually don't happen until late June, early July, but the change was something that the lead committee was very concerned about, having school on Good Friday, but the changes already taken place, and that is no longer going to be an issue.
So the TEA website has that, you're correct, that the state did change it. January 18th is when they fixed it. But it still says, all makeup sessions for paper star assessments scheduled to be administered on April 7th through the 9th. So grades 4 through 7 writing in English 1 and English 2 must be completed by April 10th. So if that is a school holiday, how are the grades 4 through 7 writing in English making that up as well?
That Thursday will be the makeup day. That Thursday before the Good Friday.
Even though the TEA website has the assessments that it's going to be on Friday, April 10th and not April 9th, is that something that a district can change on their own? Or
The district does have the flexibility, but we are aligned with the state assessment calendar.
The state assessment calendar, though, as of
The TA.
this morning, though, had it as the way that I'm reflecting it, is April 9th is a full day of testing, and April 10th is the all makeup days.
Well, I have not seen it since this morning, but I know with the last change that we had, we got it from the assessment office and we got the update, and we were able to make the recommendation moving forward.
We received the notification from the state through the assessment office that day that the calendar went out. And so immediately we retracted it and made the change, because the concern that we had, and rightly so, is that on Easter Friday, our attendance was going to be very, very poor. And the state, that was the reason why they moved it, because of concern from the state.
But they haven't moved it. The newest thing that came out from TEA, the newest update is January 18th, and it's not moved. It's still April 10th.
Mr. President, if I may?
Dr. Gonzalez.
Just for clarification, it's by April 10th, right? So we're finishing it before.
It's April
Right, so
10th, a Saturday.
No, it's a Friday.
Friday.
But it's a
Friday.
window we're talking about, right?
So
It says
it's
by April 10th.
It's a window for all makeup sessions for paper star assessments scheduled to be administered on April 7th and 9th. It's a makeup day. If my kid is absent during the day because she has the flu during that week, she has the makeup day to come the Friday the 10th, according to the TEA. Is that correct?
That is correct, but there was also something that Dr. Bada had shared where it gave you basically a little description of what the change was. You know, because I know what you're saying. When I first got it, I couldn't see the change either, but once the assessment office forwarded us the information, we are aligned in regards to that date. So we're not going to be having makeup days on.
So we're using Thursday.
Friday.
Thursday as the makeup day.
And that's allowable under the
Yes,
TEA, that's allowable.
Absolutely.
Okay, the next slide that I have a question about is, go to see what your next slide is. On that date, right, you can go back. On that date right there, there's actually a flaw. The April 12th, 2018, that Thursday is not the Thursday before an Easter break. I don't know, that was a really high personal absences, staff and student. I don't understand what the rationale was, as I thought maybe it was a soccer game when the girls went. I couldn't figure that out, but that's a typo on that part right there. I wanted to go to,
I'm sorry, I didn't follow that.
on April 12th, it says that's the Thursday before Easter. That's not, Easter's on the 2nd. That 12th is just a Thursday, a random Thursday. It's not before an Easter break. See how it says on April 12th? Yeah, that's just a typo. Sorry, let me get to. Just wanted to keep in line with the way that your program was. I wanted to get to the slide that had, on mine it's 33, that has how many people voted. Oh, go back one. Oh.
This one, I have several. This one is by campus, and then this one is by level, elementary. Middle High School.
So on the percentage of voters that voted on the, if you go back the other, to where it has the parents, the customers in our district, if you have the parents that voted, 237 parents voted, if you say we had 24,000 students and every one parent voted, that's 0.9%. That's not even 1% of the community members that actually voted. Of the employees that voted, it's 109% of employees that voted. So if you look at staff, if you look at teaching staff and auxiliary staff, there's 3,653, but more than that voted. Is there the possibility to vote twice?
When you look at the way the campuses and departments were done, that's done strictly through the rapid identity account, so it won't allow you to log in more than once. The district website one, I don't know the full ramifications, but it'd be extremely difficult. You'd have to be someone who's very tech savvy to find a way around it, but I don't believe there was a way to do that as well. And the paper ballots are just paper ballots that are collected by either campus principals from parents or by directors and their staff, and those are usually the common practices as they go in. They kind of highlight their staff members that have as they've cast their ballot. So we feel those are pretty accurate.
So what I'm saying is that the district has 2,226, the district has 1,597 teachers. And so it's a high percentage. You have 90.6% of the teaching staff that voted, and that's very reflective of their desires, but of the parents, of the customers in the district, it's not even 1%. That's what I was trying to explain on that slide. If you'll get to, I wanted to go up to speak to the holidays. I just want to keep in line with the, if you get to the holidays on Veterans Day, and as everybody knows, I'm married to a military man. He's been in the service for over 20 years now. Veterans Day has not fallen on a Monday here since 2013. And every year, we all attend Veterans Day assemblies, and they fall on either the Thursday or Friday before the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, or they fall on the Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. This year, I even went to a Veterans celebration on Wednesday. What I'm saying is that this is the first year since 2013. This year, 2019, Veterans Day actually falls on a Monday. And because of that, in my mind, it's even more disrespectful to not close the schools and have that holiday. That holiday was set up as a day for celebration for all military personnel, all military veterans. It's a day to celebrate and relax with your children. Being that this is the first year in many years that it's actually on a Monday, to me, it has even more importance that we take that Veterans Day. And if we were to take that Veterans Day, and also UTRGV is taking that Veterans Day, the county is taking that Veterans Day, and the city is taking that Veterans Day. So again, the largest employer in the city in McAllen, UTRGV, is taking that holiday. So that's going to cause a hardship to our children. Well, the parents can take it off, I guess, and go to the movies if their kids don't have it off, I guess. So maybe that's not a hardship for the parents in that aspect. But for me, it's a hardship in explaining to our military personnel that we didn't take the holiday, we didn't observe it. Because in my mind, we can do as we always have done. We can celebrate it Thursday or Friday, or we can celebrate it Tuesday or Wednesday by doing all the incredible ceremonies that we do. But this year, of all years, it falls on Monday, the actual June 11th, Armistice Day, 11 o'clock, 11 a.m., 11th day, 11th month. To me, this is the most important year that we honor it. And if we were to honor it, we would have to find some wiggle room on another day that we wouldn't, because we'd have to make that up. That leads me to Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, again, UTRGV, our biggest employer. Thanksgiving, they're only taking half of Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The county, the same thing. And so, to me, that's another hardship for our employee, for our customers. That's a hardship because they now have to have daycare for their children that are in our schools. Because they can't take that holiday, because they're not allowed that holiday, and UTRGV doesn't have the holiday, the county doesn't have that holiday. So, to me, we could be clever with our days, and if we, and the committee was given an entire week blocked off. They had no options. It was given to them the entire week. So it was probably never discussed among them on what they could do and what days they were willing to look at. So I just want to note that. And my second problem on that same sheet is Columbus Day. That's problematic for me. That, we're an institute of education. we understand that Columbus did not discover America. We understand the violent abuse of the indigenous people. But as it happens this year, on the same day, October 14th, so Columbus is always the second Monday of October. As it happens this year, and this year alone for a very long time, Monday, October 14th is a Jewish holiday. It's the Feast of the Tabernacles, and they're not allowed to work that day. So if the lead wanted to take October 14th because it fits in nicely when there's a break for the different semesters, I would suggest that we do not call it Columbus Day on our calendar, and that we either call it Sukkot, S-U-K-K-O-T, the Feast of the Tabernacles, or we just have it as, or we change it to Indigenous People Day, or we just have it as simply a student holiday. But to call it Columbus Day, in my mind, is a disservice.
It's not Columbus Day. It's a weather day, ma'am.
Okay, I'm still going, so, sorry. That to me, in my mind, that it should be called, not be called Columbus Day. And if we are going to, we should say that we are honoring young, either Sukkot or Indigenous People Day, in my mind. Labor Day is another thing that we don't take. Labor Day is actually not something that I am, it's not a military holiday, it's the Central Labor Union holiday for workers, and it's a day of relaxation. I understand that school starts, right then, so it's not, it's hard to take that day off. So I'm not too upset about Labor Day, but I'm very upset about Columbus Day and Veterans Day. I'm almost done, sorry. I thought if the calendar committee had the opportunity to be flexible, and if they had the opportunity to have a totally blank sheet that was given to them, other than the first day of school and the last day of school, they could have had the flexibility to think outside the box. To me, McAllen leads, and we've always led, and I don't like that we follow. And I think that we should jump ahead, and because we have Veterans Day on a Monday this year, the actual November 11th, we should jump ahead and we should honor that. Because we have the Feast of the Tabernacles on Monday the 14th, we should put that on our calendar and honor that in place of Columbus Day. There's other opportunities that I think that we could look at, but I think that spring break, though, is a huge, huge problem. It's very problematic for me and for our customers, because their families are employed at UTRGV. Their siblings go to UTRGV, a majority of them, and to not be able to have the same vacation time as UTRGV, our sister school, our sister partners in education, to me is very problematic. And I don't think that the calendar committee knew that. And if they had known that, and they had known that the largest employer in McAllen is UTRGV, that has to have some kind of weight. So,
If I can address some of your concerns. In regards to the calendar committee, they have total control of that calendar. Now, I do highlight the testing days, and we just bring awareness to the holidays. By no means is anybody in any of those committees, over 40 members, ever told how many days per holiday to have. What we do is we review this binder, pretty much all the parameters that we have. We do a presentation, and there's some members here, but at no means are they dictated. This week will be for Thanksgiving this week. I mean, it's highlighted simply because just an awareness.
To be clear, the thing that they're given, the template that they're given, to be clear, has the entire week of Thanksgiving out.
That is correct.
And it has the entire week of spring break already in there.
That is
That's
correct.
already in their template.
That is correct. And the reason I'm moving with that is because at that time we had the UT schedule, we had the UT of Austin schedule, we had the STC schedule, so that's how we had to work with, so that's how we aligned it. Usually UT Austin is aligned with UTRGV, and we had STC, Livestock Show, and STC aligned. The only one pending was UTRGV. In the past, it's been aligned, so I'm not quite sure why it would not be aligned this year, but maybe there are different calendars. When you see it, there are different semesters. There's mini-semesters, there's semesters that overlap, and you'll see different spring break windows. I know when we were looking through it, that's how we could see the true actual spring break for 2020. But the big point here is that staff members do have the flexibility to do or maneuver the calendar any way that they like, any way that they see fit as the committee. I did want to go back also to the April 12th. And this, I was based on the 2017-2018 school calendar. And that April 12th was the Thursday before Good Friday, when we see it there. So, I mean, that was just like a typo, like you said, but it was the Friday before the Good Friday, and that is traditionally but it was just a typo.
Well, the second is Easter, though. Easter Sunday was the second, so the 12th couldn't be the Thursday before.
No, I'm sorry, you are correct. You are correct, yes. And I think what is one other point that you mentioned? I just can't remember.
Well, I wanted to add that the reason that STC spring break is so important is because we have so many students that are participating in dual enrollment. So if we're off and we're not aligned to STC, then that means our students are having to continue to go to school during that week. So we try to align as best as possible to STC calendar so that our students are in session, are off while we're off, the students that go to STC for dual enrollment.
Yes.
So that's a big factor because we have very few students that attend UTRGV dual enrollment. The majority of our students do go to STC.
So then what do we do when STC has off Labor Day, when STC has off Veterans Day, and STC does not have the entire week of Thanksgiving?
And it happens, and that's what I'm saying. So we try to minimize the number of days where we're not aligned.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why spring break for us, STC, is vital that we're aligned because, again, we want to make sure that our students are on break from STC and from the school so that they're not having to go to school during their spring break if we're off.
I guess my point to that is if we can make that alignment for those couple days, then we should be able to make the alignment for the spring break so that we don't have the hardship to all the faculty and all the people that work at UTRGV that they will not be able to take the same spring break this year as their children. I think I'm done.
If I may say something.
Thank you, Trustee Alicea. Trustee Saldivar.
Thank you. You know, when we started having these discussions earlier in the first week of February, we specifically asked, so we go back and look at our last year's video, because we spent over an hour on that last year to see if the issues that were addressed last year were being addressed. And now I think it's important that we preserve this, so when the lead committee meets, that these new suggestions be taken into consideration moving forward. There's nothing here that's of any detriment. Contrary, that if we make any suggestions and sending back, our main focus is to educate our children. That's what our purpose is, and a lot of us as parents, there's going to be conflicts. I mean, up until when the state aligned all the spring breaks together, it was perfect, but they've moved away from that. And so that becomes a real challenge, and as you explained to us, and again tonight, our focus is our students, and they're being in those classes, those dual and concurrent. It impacts them, and I can assure you the parents will be here upset when they're not doing well. The other is looking at the dates. We've had this conversation over the many, many years, but when you take out those 14 testing dates, you're at 81 instructional days in the spring and 88 in the fall. It's as close as horseshoes and hand grenades, you know. And that's the key, is the instructional days where you have students engaged in the classroom with their teacher. And that's how we get student success and student focus. That is our primary and the only goal we have regarding students. The rest of them fall in afterwards, you know, and people development's number 2, which is very key why this calendar is created. Now, I was a big proponent, as Trustee Alicea has emphasized, and I totally agree with her regarding Veterans Day. In fact, year after year, I would propose it just like this. We'd vote. I would support the committee's decision. Committee would look at it the following year, and it wasn't until it happened to fall on that Monday, just like Trustee Alicea mentioned, that we finally got it. And I had veterans tell me they wanted it, and when we didn't have activities happening in the schools on that day because the kids were off, those same people were calling and say, I wasn't invited to any presentations, you all didn't do any recognitions, and many schools could not do it the rest of the week because you gotta now do 5 days in 4 days. Because again, our goal is our students, getting them in that classroom with instruction. And so when you take out a day, and I think it's a very important day, and I think Mr. Trevino suggested that maybe we invite folks or have more folks show up at the Veterans Affairs ceremonies than we maybe do now. But ever since we did that and it actually experienced it, I have yet to have a veteran say that it's a missed opportunity. On the contrary, like I said, I've had a couple call me very concerned that our children really don't understand the Armistice Day and why it exists today, and they don't understand Memorial Day and why that is of paramount importance. And so I think we need to use instruction time to assure that whatever we do, that our children fully understand what those individuals have done for our country. Thank you, Mr. President.
I just have a follow-up, I'm sorry. Just one. On the league committee, did you have the dates for spring break for UTRGV? Did y'all factor that in? Y'all didn't have that date?
No, we didn't. To be determined.
Okay, would it change knowing that the date now is different? Would that change your votes, or are we still looking about the same because we're more aligned, we're more concerned about aligning the STC?
STC and the
Livestock show.
And the livestock show? Okay.
Students who are eligible for
Would it change anybody's vote?
But you're talking to 4 people.
Yeah, I know, I know only talking 5, I know. I mean, the other option we could have, just for the sake, is let them vote again, just to make sure that they have that information, but.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Trustee Eliseda.
I forgot to, equivalency days. In the old days, teachers had equivalency work days, where if you missed a day of the professional learning days that were required, there was an extra day to make it up. I don't see that in the calendar, and I haven't seen that in the calendar for a while now. If a teacher doesn't make up their professional learning day, are they docked for it, or how is that embedded into the calendar? Because in the old days, there were equivalency days to where, like, let's say it was the Friday before Easter, you didn't have to come to that day if you'd already done your professional learning, but if you hadn't, then you had to come that day. Do we have that anywhere? Or is that a state thing? We got rid of it, or?
We no longer have it. All the professional learning days are embedded into the calendar. There were concerns with that model because we did have quite a few employees who didn't complete their professional learning time equivalency, and so they were docked, they lost, their paycheck, and so now they're all embedded into the calendar.
So what happens, so that's my point, what happens if I miss one of those days because I'm sick? I don't have there's no opportunity, like once a semester, like a weather day, there's not once a semester of an equivalency day for our staff to make it up so they don't get docked for it?
Well, they're not going to get docked because they use, if an employee is absent, it's either going to be for personal, so they have days that they're not docked for those days, or they're authorized school business. So unless an employee exceeds the number of allowable days, that's when they're docked. But anytime that they miss professional learning day because of personal reasons, the principals work with them to give them the opportunities to make up that professional development through other means at the campus.
Okay, that was my concern, is I wanted to see if we needed a makeup day for our professionals to get that, and they didn't get docked for that. I did have one more thing, and I totally forgot. On the committee, are there any community members on the committee?
Yes, they are.
So, because the goal of the committee is, explain to me, I guess that's, the goal of the committee is to have input from our customer, the community members, and from our employees, who we treasure and value. So explain to me who the community members are and how many are, and how many people are on the committee?
Okay, so we have a representative from each campus, so that's 31 teachers. 31 teachers. And then we have non-instructional staff representing the various roles, a librarian, counselor, a nurse, and principals, one principal from each level. So that's an additional 6 people. And then we also have 2 parents, 2 community members, and 2 business leaders, for a total of 6 additional members.
And did all 6 people participate?
We invite them. We usually have, 1 or 2 that show up. Usually to the first meeting, they do show up, but of course, they volunteer their time. So sometimes they do, or sometimes they leave after an hour and they excuse themselves because, of course, they're working or what have you. So they are invited to every meeting, and every meeting we have 1 or 2 that show up.
So would you say that they participated so that there's community input in this calendar, or would you say it's 100% employee input?
It was probably 100% employee. I think we had Ms. Baylor.
One, maybe 2 parents.
Ms. I forget her name, that one from Baylor University was there. Elaine. Ms. Elaine Hernandez was at the last one, and I'm not sure Mr. Hernandez showed up or not.
I don't think Mr. Hernandez was there for that meeting.
So last year when we had this thing, and I know we went along last year too, I asked for the same thing. I asked if we could have veterans on the community, a number of, a high percentage of people in the military, and if we could have a high percentage of community members that work full-time, that don't have the flexibility of owning their own business or stay-home parents and stuff like that, that have the flexibility. And so I don't see that we have those community members this year. And I don't see that the committee had the information of UTRGV, which is our biggest employer. For that, I really think that the board should consider taking this back, having the community, have the lead committee take it back and look at it, and really look at it and see the impact that it's going to make to our customers, because having UTRGV be the biggest employer in the city of McAllen, having all those people not have the same holiday as their children is, to me, problematic. So I really hope the board tables this, lets the lead committee take it back, and now that they have all this information that they didn't have before, and maybe they'll come back with a different option, and maybe we will have Veterans Day, and maybe we will have a different spring break.
Thank you, Trustee. Trustee Farina, you had a comment?
Quick question: of our 31 educators, how many of them are parents within the district?
Oh, gosh, I don't have all of them. Many of them, many of them.
Many of them are, okay. Hurricane season starts June 1st and runs through November 20th. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, that somehow within the month of September, we get a hurricane and we have to cancel school for the day. When's our next makeup day?
We have November the 10th.
That would be October the 14th, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we wouldn't lose that day technically, hypothetically speaking. Okay. And the other question, or it's more of a comment, as a father of a dual enrollment child, STC not having classes on Friday encourages our children to work in their alphas, in which they maybe work on college prep, they work on filling out scholarship applications, they work on growing themselves. So to not align our calendar to STC would be a tremendous burden for the parents that have those dual enrollment kids, and I believe there's close to 400 that are at Achieve right now, if I'm not mistaken, right, Dr. Gonzalez?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just making sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Farina. Quick question before we proceed. What was the vote of the committee?
The committee,
option B.
Option B, 2,710 in favor of calendar B.
No, our committee, did they just took the recommendation of the vote? Is that what they did?
Yes, sir. The lead drafts the two options, they
And then
approve the final two
they'll take-
options, and then it goes
Okay.
out to the community stakeholders.
All right,
That's right.
thank you. It's all great discussion. All points that are very well taken.
I want one more thing.
And we're gonna have one more point
I just
to take.
want people to realize that the parents that voted on the district website, it's not even 1% of our customers, of our parents voted, only 237. 109% of our employees voted, but not even 1% of our
Mr. Vela.
customers that are impacted. That's all I want to finish it.
Mr. Vela, if I may.
One more point.
I'll stop.
Thank you. And this is a very key point, and I totally agree that I was, amazed that it was low, but it was that way last year and the year before. So
we had a little bit more.
you did have a little bit more, but you're not going to have, earlier on we discussed that we have 22,800 students. If only one of the parents for each, we should have. And that would be fantastic. That would be awesome. But the reality, we've never gotten that. So we've gotten a few more, a couple hundred more. So the main question here needs to be asked is, how did the administration get the word out to the parents of the district to vote on this calendar?
One of the first things we do is, there's a memo that's drafted out. I sent it to Dr. Bada, she reviews it for approval, and it goes to all the campuses. The principals of each campus send that information out to all their staff. And they also have a practice of either displaying the two calendars as parents are coming in to vote, and we also post it on the website so they have the information. And this year, we also added the step of working with community info and sending out a newsletter to the community to make them aware of the time window that was taking place. There are many campuses that also use their marquees to promote this, and we feel that helps some. Obviously, it's not where we want to be in regards to participation, but those factors are pretty much the things that we did.
Can I ask this? Most parents that have technology, and of course we've given technology to students, and I understand some parents chose not to, but it's available. They have an email address for the district, right? So they get information by email.
Correct.
For most part, on their student grades and activities that are happening. You mentioned the newsletter.
Right.
So am I to understand, we sent a mass email to every parent that's on that Outlook
That is
site? So we did send it out.
That is correct.
So it was up to the parents to choose to, just like we have over 65,000 registered voters in McAllen, if 5,000 vote consistently, it's publicized, we have 14, 15 days, early voting, whatever. Same here, how many days did you wait for folks to vote, parents to vote, after you send out to all the parents?
Usually in the last couple of years, we've given them about 4 to 5 day window. This year, we went almost 2 weeks.
So 2 weeks.
It was 13 days.
Mass email, and only less than 200 voted.
We tried to extend it as long as we could, just to make sure that the opportunities were there, and that's the turnout that we got.
Many of the campuses also sent Remind 101, because I know I was getting some of them just as reminders. Remind 101, please remember to vote on the website and so forth. So it was multiple venues.
Yeah, I got it, but since I have no dog in the hunt, my kids, I didn't vote. So. But I am voting today.
And what many of the principals do, if parents have a hard time with the technology, they give them a paper ballot that they can submit right then and there at the campus as well. But those are for the parents who actually stop by on a daily basis, that they have the opportunity as well.
So again, mass email to everyone in the district that is a parent that's registered, and most are. Marquees that were posted, newsletters that were sent out, principals that were networking and talking to their parents, a paper ballot that was made available and explained to anybody that wanted to participate and vote. Is that a fair statement?
And the district website.
And the district website as well. Is that a fair statement to make? It's all captured of trying to get the community to be involved?
That is correct.
Is there anything else we could have done short of going to their house and having them fill out the form?
Thought exchange.
Thought exchange.
And that is Skyward, you have the ability to opt out. A lot of people opt out of all the messages because they are so inundated. So just because we have 24,000 people that use Skyward for grades, they do not get all the emails. So that's kind of
I would agree with you, you're correct.
maybe a good option is if we had a third option to vote on, and that third option to vote on for the community had something different.
Absolutely.
Because the two options that they had to vote on, only the difference was when the semester ends. So a lot of people were like, I'm not even going to vote because it didn't have any difference. So maybe I would feel better if we went back out, we had a third option that had the UTRGV spring break and that had Veterans Day.
And earlier, one of the suggestions was the thought, and we've talked about it afterwards with the superintendent, that maybe leveraging the thought exchange may be a more user-friendly tool than the email. But again, the business practice up to this point exceeded what we normally had done in the past. Thank you, Mr. Lowe.
My only comment, since it is moving forward, I know, this is a tough decision because the only time the board gets this at the end. We really don't have a say throughout the process of it. So every year we sit here and every year we argue about this. I'm going to suggest that we do a workshop on this, and if we're going to be held accountable for voting, because I'm not inclined to vote against what the staff did, because that's the process for this year. I'm in kind of agreement with some of the comments that maybe we could amend it, but moving forward, if we're going to be the ones, then we need to take ownership of it and discuss this so we can play a bigger part in it.
That would be board governance under the statute and under, I mean, it is. I mean, if we might as well tell Lee, you know what, Lee, we're going to tell you exactly how it's going to be.
Well, I mean, but that's...
And that's not the way it's set up.
Mr. President, move to vote.
I'd like to
Well, hold on, let me just finish.
your comment. Finish your
Just-
comment.
No,
I'm sorry.
I understand what you're saying, Sam, but I mean, the only alternative we have than proposing other options is then we take it, so, I mean...
Well, the superintendent should take our recommendations and weigh that when we do this next year.
Right.
Point well taken. Thank you.
Okay.
Great discussion. I certainly appreciate the work of the committee. The committee took your work and gave it to administration. Administration backed up you all's decisions and you all's research with some incredible research points that we've discussed in previous meetings. And I certainly appreciate all of the work. We appreciate all of the work that you all have done to back up with the research that you presented. At this point, someone did make a motion about an hour and a half ago that we approve the recommended board action would be to approve calendar draft B of the school calendar for the year 2019-2020. Motion's on the floor and it has been seconded. We've had questions and we've had discussion. All of those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Esparza, did you vote?
Yes, aye.
Motion carries
In
5.
favor of the calendar.
Yeah, motion carries 5-1. thank you to everyone, Mr. Elizondo. Certainly appreciate your work, and I appreciate all comments, thoughts, and questions that were presented by our board trustees this evening. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Moving on to item 8, board members, board committees, and district reports. Dr. Gonzalez? Oh, I'm sorry, that's mine.
That's yours.
Board committee reports, A1, instructional services briefing. Our chair is trustee Sam Saldivar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think I gave a report just a while
Yes, you
ago.
did.
Okay.
So unless anybody has any questions, that concludes my report. Trustee Alvarado and I met on Thursday, February the 21st at 8:30 a.m. And again, we had invited Trustee Alicedo, but she had a scheduling conflict.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
8A2, human resources briefing. Our chair on that is trustee Aliceda.
Yes, we met with Mr. Miller on Thursday. Okay. We met on Thursday, trustee Suarez and myself. I can't remember, my brain is, I'm so angry still about the calendar, sorry.
We could take a recess if you
I
like.
think I need a recess because every year I fight this fight, and every year I say I'm going to be heard, and I'm never heard.
I hear you.
But I'll get to the agenda items. I'll elaborate further if I need to, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, trustee Aliceda. 8A3, district operations briefing. Our chair is Marcos Juarez.
That's me also. Mr. Suarez had to leave early, and I attended that meeting. We have the approval of the monetary donation. We've already done it from Gonzalez, from McAllen, from Peter Piper. The only thing that we haven't done is the report regarding the facilities maintenance and operations projects and the approval of the request for proposal for the E-rate. We are still going to be here a long while. That's my report.
Can we order breakfast?
Yeah.
Thank you, trustee Aliceda, for trustee Suarez. 8A4, business operations briefing. Our chair is trustee Esparza.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have a couple of items up tonight. Report regarding the taxes collected for January 2019 and also the monthly financial investment report for January 2019.
Thank you, trustee Esparza. 8B1, report regarding facilities. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. This is a monthly report from our Facilities Maintenance and Operation Department, and Mr. Trevino will present this month's projects. Mr. Trevino.
Healthy discussion.
Just one more question.
No. Next item.
Why don't we start the discussion before the presentation?
Good evening. I'll be presenting on the facilities maintenance and operations projects that we currently have going on. The first slide here is the perimeter fencing that has started district-wide. We've got Perez, which is on the picture shown here. Partial of the fencing is up. Rayburn, Castañeda, Hendricks, those are all also already going up, along with Milam, Cathy, Travis, Morris, and Fossum.
Ruben, which ones, I'm sorry, the Milam? With the donation?
Milam is part of with the donation,
Okay.
yes. The whiteboard installation that we have going on also district-wide, Seguin Elementary is now complete, Escandon as well, Wilson, Rayburn, Milam is ongoing, Travis is complete already, along with Brown as well.
Mr. Trevino, you picked these campuses random?
No, sir, they're on the schedule that we currently have for the district for the replacement.
Thank you.
Ruben, real quickly, I guess your first slide was the perimeter fencing slide, right?
Yes.
I drove by Gonzalez this afternoon on the way over here, and I know the last time we had there was a discussion about removing the fences there, putting up that other type of fencing. And there was a question about who put up that hurricane fence that's there, and What's going to happen to that old fence?
That fence that is there belongs to the city. It was put on when the city school park came up,
Okay,
and the city will be taking that fence down.
so you've had that discussion with them
Yes, sir.
already? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Auditorium improvements Phase 2, which is the dimmer racks and the LED lighting packages. We've got Memorial, which is now complete. McAllen High School should be completed this week, and Rowe High School is ahead of schedule, and they should be starting on Thursday or Friday of this week. The auditorium seating RFQ, last day was on Friday. We did receive 2 quotes, and we will be working with purchasing this week to process the quotes.
Mr. President, if I may, real quick.
Trustee Savivar.
Thank you. Mr. Trevino, you say Phase 2 auditorium improvements. What were the components of Phase 2 for the auditorium?
The components of Phase 2 was the LED lighting package and the dimmer racks.
And so have the dimmer racks and the lighting simultaneously or 2 separate?
At the same time, they're being installed.
At the same time?
Yes.
So when it says completed Memorial, those 2 are installed?
Yes.
And then you anticipate the row on 3, 4 of 19?
Yes, correct.
And ongoing Mac High, what
Current-
timetable are you is there some issue there? Why?
McHigh, we're currently, they're at the point right now that they're installing the LED lights, and we will be ordering some additional lights for McHigh as well.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. President.
Science Department garden projects that FMO is working with the Science Department at the following schools. Pettis, Houston, and Seguin are complete, and Jackson is on schedule for tomorrow. Ongoing projects, we've got intercom replacements at Milam, Houston, Seguin, and Cathy. Advertisement for this RFQ is this Wednesday. Roof replacement at Achieve is also at 95% completion on the design and should be going out for bids in the next couple of weeks. We also went ahead and did some assessments on the letters at the 3 different high schools, and repairs and repainting are taking place as we speak this week. We also have the surveillance systems in design right now with our engineering firm. Travis is out on a bid right now, and Fossum and Cathy are next in line to go out for bid. And we also have the STC portables that we're looking at, either trying to sell some of them. We're trying to get evaluation on the existing portable buildings that are out there. I know there's some interest right now with STC wanting to purchase 5 out of the 15 portables that we currently house there.
Nice.
And we're also looking at the possible relocation of these portables into the high schools where there's some need for them. And that's where we're at with the portables. Hopefully we can start moving them out of STC.
Before you go on, Ruben, can you give us an update on the science labs?
Science labs are currently out right now, being bid. The due date for these quotes to come in is not this Friday, but the following Friday.
Okay.
And that's where we're at.
And we're still staggered with Lamar Academy going first?
Yes.
Okay. When do we anticipate the full that's going to take us a year and a half to complete, or once we get all the bids?
We're anticipating mid-August to be fully complete with all the labs.
All the labs?
Yes,
Okay.
at the 4 locations.
Okay.
And for the month of January, we had 1,100 work orders submitted, 1,129, and 962 completed for facilities, maintenance, and operations.
Thank you for your
That concludes my report.
Well, just one more on the ag farm, or that's, where are we on that?
The ag farm for this coming month, we will have a full report on the infrastructure, which is Phase 1.
Okay.
And our civil engineer is currently working on that particular phase.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Trevino, appreciate your work. Anybody have any comments or questions?
I just had one quick question. Are we working with DOT on the intercom replacement? We did some budget adjustments for DOT. Is that coming into play with the intercom replacement surveillance systems, or?
Currently, the intercom replacements that we're working on are based off of the DOT replacement schedule that was submitted to us.
Okay.
And the ones that are on the schedule for this coming year are also in line with that.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 8B2, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Ms. Richards will present the monthly financials for January 2019, and this item is for information purposes only. Ms. Richards?
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. The financial statements for January 31st, 2019 represent year-to-date revenues of $143,921,451 and year-to-date expenditures of $132,005,741, resulting in revenues over expenditures of $11,915,710.
Thank you.
Now,
I'm sorry.
I will move on to the investment report.
That's what I'm going to ask you to do.
The January 31st, 2019 investment report reflects beginning market value of $120,933,180 and the ending market value of $139,066,913, resulting in a change in market value of $18,133,733. In addition, the average yield to maturity for the period is 2.293%. Again, the district is well diversified in its investment vehicles. And the year-to-date interest earnings for the district are $1,277,255.02. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Richards.
I have a question.
Yes, Trustee Saldivar.
Thank you. I noticed we're at $103,603,744. This is a preliminary ending fund balance. This is normal for this time of year. In fact, the last couple of years, because you can see the year before. So it seems like we're getting over $100 million at this time of year from the state and from local property tax, mainly because the taxes and everything's being drawn now, for the most part.
Yes, sir.
Okay. But we should see, once we make our expenditures, we should see about $77 million, más o menos.
Yes, we will land on June 30th about the $77 million mark, which is our optimum fund balance.
Exactly. In fact, that's more than we were last year, which was projected at $74 million.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think when we spoke earlier, you said it was roughly about $3 million more.
Yes.
Could part of that be that in November of 2018, we peaked at 832 students down within the district? And this past week, we got a report from the superintendent that we were now at 660. And if we take the regular basic funding allotment, which does not include the weights, of $5,760 per student, then when you multiply that gain in students, that's just about $1 million, $990,000 to be exact.
Yes, sir.
That's before ADA, I know.
Right.
But so that's a pretty significant gain in a relatively short period of time in students coming back to the district, either from other districts or other places, or some of our own returning.
Yes, sir. In terms of the enrollment, you are correct about the highest drop in enrollment versus the lowest drop in enrollment, which just occurred last Thursday when that report came out. And there has been a significant drop in that. It was actually 172 in the enrollment between the peak and the lowest drop on there. It's 172. Again, that is enrollment. That would then be converted to ADA. ADA would then be multiplied by the $5,760 amount we receive for our regular allotment.
So it's 172 gain.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Trustee. Any other questions or comments? Moving on to the next item, Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Ms. Richards will report on the monthly taxes collected by the Hidalgo County Tax Office on behalf of McAllen ISD for January 2019. And this item is for information purposes only. Ms. Richards.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. For the month of January, the taxes collected were $37,133,471.29. That has resulted in year-to-date collections for current taxes of $71,812,508.73, and year-to-date collections for delinquent taxes of $1,738,486.20. The percent of collections is 86.09 for the current year versus 86.95% last year for current taxes, and for delinquent taxes, the current year percentage is 25.92% versus 25.15%. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Richards. Any comments or questions for Ms. Richards? Hearing none, we'll proceed to items in closed session. 9A, approval of human resource recommendations. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. Human Resources is submitting a list of recommendations under separate cover for discussion during closed session, and we are requesting action
So
on this
moved.
item.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the recommendation by administration. Any comments or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Dr. Gonzalez, 9B.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. The Human Resources is submitting a list of resignations for the 2018-2019 school year under separate cover for discussion during closed session, and this item is for information purposes only.
Thank you, Dr. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to item 9C, pending and potential litigation. Mr. Crane.
No report, Mr. President.
9D, possible real estate acquisition.
Also no report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Crane. Moving on to consent agenda items, there was nothing submitted for consent. Item number 11, instructional services, et cetera. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. This is 11B1, approval of agreement through request for qualifications 2018-121 insurance and employee benefits consulting services. And staff negotiated an agreement with the highest ranked firm, and we are requesting action on this item.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Any comments or questions on this item?
Just what we're acting on, what we interviewed last week.
I do have one question. I noticed in the contract, Mr. President.
Yes.
I do have it says a committee, health consulting committee would be reviewing any changes or recommendations by our consultant. Who makes up the committee? The Health Insurance Advisory Committee.
That committee, we do not have a committee at this time, but we do need to develop that committee.
And what is the administration going to be recommending serve on the committee? How's the makeup going to be, or do you have any
I don't have that
ideas?
information at this time.
Okay. So at this time, there is no Health Insurance Advisory Committee?
That's correct.
Any time frame as to when you will have the committee formed? Dr. Gonzalez or Mr. Noah?
I'm going to meet with Todd tomorrow, also with Andy, and we will move as fast as humanly possible to put this committee together. So within a week, we'll have it, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
It's been moved and second. Are there any other comments or questions on this item?
Which one is it, Mr. Bell?
We are working on
11B.
11B1. It's been moved and seconded. Will you be voting on this item, Trustee Esparza? Just for,
Yeah, I had one quick question. When I was looking over the documents, and I thought, let me just verify, because it looked like one of the license that was submitted said that it expired the month of February. Hang on, but I don't know if it said, which would still be good for this month. Let me verify real quick. Sorry, I know it was here somewhere. Almost there.
Thank you.
It was for, Amanda Garza. That one said it actually expired 1/12/19, but is that anything?
Those send us a renewal, so, but the firm is license, we got 5 licenses.
That's right, yeah, and I saw that. That was one of the ones that you submitted, and it said that it expired on 1/12/19, so I just want to make sure.
TDI changed the effective date to everybody's birthday, so
Right.
they actually shifted everybody around, so there's some licenses that are accidentally blamed by a birthday.
Okay, just want to let you know. That's all I had, Mr. President.
thank you, Trustee Esparza.
Okay.
Trustee Esparza?
This is my question to you. There's a conflict of interest questionnaire. Is that for the board members, or is that for the All Risk Consulting? It's on page 152. Am I in the wrong section F of the contract? Is that, am I right? Am I seeing that right?
I think you are, yeah.
So does that mean that the people that own All Valley Risk need to sign that conflict of interest questionnaire? Like if they've given campaign donations to or anybody like that?
The vendor has to sign, and if they do have a relative related to a trustee with a certain degree, the trustee also has to fill out some information.
Does it also have to do with campaign contributions?
No.
I don't think so, just if you're related, I think.
No.
Or if you have a business relationship, right?
Own part of the business, whatever.
If you have a business relationship, right?
But you don't have to say if you've given board members campaign contributions?
Yeah, the questions are pretty, they're outlined there, and that's not one of them.
Sorry.
Is that a concern?
Yes.
Got to talk to our legislators.
Thank you. Moving on. Thank you, Mr. Crane. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, it's been moved and seconded. Discussions and questions have been had. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-1. All right, moving on to 11B2.
Yes,
Dr.
sir.
Gonzalez.
This is a discussion of the Texas Association of School Boards, TASB, Localized Policy Manual Update 112, first reading. And this is a routine TASB practice. The update represents the changes to our policies and presented as a first reading tonight with the final approval at our next board meeting. So there's no action required on this item.
And we've got that in our package. The red has been deleted or changed in the text.
Yes.
The additions are in blue. I think all board members. Does anyone have any comments or questions on what's been given to us in our packages?
Yes, sir, Mr. President, I have a question.
Trustee Saldívar.
This is a local policy, right? This is not a legal being mandated by either TASB or TEA or the state legislature.
Update 112 had 41 legal updates, 14 local updates, and 1 exhibit update.
But the local, was that mandated by the changes in the legal statute or by TEA, or is that local adjusting it to legal? Because it seems like there are some differences. That's the reason I'm asking.
Yeah, so local policies contained in this update reflect changes necessary for consistency with the legal policies. Local policies have been reviewed by central administration as presented in a company table and as recommended by central administration.
But I don't see the legals being cross-referenced here. They're only the local. Is there a way you can, well, I guess I can do it myself, but it would have been good to have the cross-reference as to what generated it. That's all. Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Miller.
Yes, sir.
And it's actually on page 204 of the package, and it's probably a grammatical question more than anything else, including the inter-net. Is that because it's at the end of the line, or are you spelling internet differently?
So, I'm sorry.
Page 204, and it's several times in the text of our package, but, because later on, it's all on one line, and I just wondered.
What was that again?
Internet.
Okay.
And I know you did, it's not a capitalized I, but it is at the end of a line. Availability of access on page 204.
Yeah, I'm not seeing, the internet sometimes in the red is capitalized and they change it to a small I in blue several times.
But in that particular line, it's inter-net, and I just wondered if it was a grammatical issue. Not a problem. You answered my question. Thank you. Anyone else, any comments or questions? Thank you, Mr. Miller. Moving on to district operations. Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes, sir. We have 11C1, and this is approval of request for proposal number 2018-159, E-rate 2019 internet services, and the district utilizes the solicitation for the purchase of internet services through the eligibility of E-rate 2019 funding, and we are requesting action on this item.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept staff recommendations to approve the request for proposal. Any comments or questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. Business operation items, there was nothing submitted. Moving on to 11E, Board of Trustees items. 11E1 is approval of travel for the Board of Trustees. Policy requires that board members to submit travel requests to the board in advance when practical. This year, as most of you well know, the board has been nominated and is a finalist in the HEB's Excellence in Education Award. That award ceremony will be held in in Austin on May the 5th, 2018. And we are requesting action on this item. Is there a motion?
Move to approve?
For a second. I'll second it.
Second.
Any comments or questions on this item? All those in favor of the item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 6-0. 11E2, approval of Board of Education meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the minutes of the meetings. All those in favor signify by saying.
In our packet, the regular board meetings, February 11th at 5 PM is not included. I did see it somewhere.
It was in the SharePoint.
It was on SharePoint, but it's not in this one. Okay, so we can still, okay. I noticed in there, it has when people leave, but it doesn't have the time. I know I've seen a bunch of open records requests asking what time we leave and what time we enter. If we could start from now on saying what time we enter, what time we leave in our minutes, I think that would be helpful for whenever people are doing all these open records requests.
And arrive.
Yeah, arrive and leave.
Point taken.
If I might add, just join the meeting. I believe that meeting is the one that I called in during the meeting, so, and my presence was announced over the phone.
Duly noted.
Thank you.
So that correction, we need, if we're doing the motion, we have to do amendment to the
No, it
motion.
has you present. It has you present. Yeah, it has you present.
Cool.
So it is there? Okay.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved, 6-0. Schedule of future meetings, and they're all listed in our agenda this evening, but I'd like to make a comment. We have had a very difficult time lately scheduling meetings or being able to attend the meetings by a majority of the board. I'd just like to ask that everybody please contact Ms. Natalie, give her what is your best day and time for a meeting so that a majority of the board can attend these meetings. I know she spends a lot of time and frustration trying to get all of us to give her a date and time, and it's back and forth, back and forth. I appreciate her efforts, but we need to make it a little bit easier for her, and so the rest of us can plan to attend these meetings a little bit more in advance than the day before or 2 days before. But anyway, please contact Ms. Natalie and give her your best time. If it's Wednesday afternoon or Tuesday morning or whenever it is, and then she'll compile tabulate those times, and then we'll pass them on and see if we can do that.
Well, Chair, I think the issue is, if I may, you're asking if I can attend the meeting, or I'm just saying, because it happens, and I look and I have a conflict, then I give another date. So to find dates that we're all free, it's going to be difficult. I would ask you as officers and the rest officers, give us just a few dates to choose from, and the majority wins. Because I do think that's the beauty of this board. We're a majority board, so we all can't attend for whatever reason. It is what it is. But she spends a lot of time going back and forth. We think we have a date, but then someone can't, so it throws everybody else off. I mean, at some point, I think that's why you're an officer. You got to go forward with that. Yes, sir.
Trustee.
To that point, on our last meeting on the agenda, we had a meeting scheduled today at 3:30. I rearranged my calendar and everything. It was canceled Friday, but Friday when it was canceled, I was asked, can I attend Wednesday at 5:30? And my answer was no, I'm double booked. But I see here that we have a Wednesday at 5:30, but I cannot come, and I already gave notice that I can't come. So I was very offended that the Monday, 3:30, which had been, for a month, it's been on our calendar, and it was on our agenda, and we all said okay to it, it was canceled on Friday at 5 o'clock, and then the reschedule was at a meeting that I know and you know that I cannot attend to. So I would like to see that we take off 12C, and then we figure out a date, and we put it on our calendar, and those who can, those who can't, can't, but it's something that's already on our calendar, and it's, agreed to, as was today at 3:30.
We can vote on the calendar.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
In the past, and we were around, we would do this in open.
Right.
And I have a lesson learned, when we were dealing with the superintendent, I did it in closed, the scheduling. It really, scheduling should be done in open. I know you've tried many a time, say, everybody look at their calendar, but really that is the purpose of coming together as a body corporate and deciding the dates. It should be done here in open session, so we all know, we're all in agreement, we all pull out our calendars, and ideally you're trying for the 7-0 and appreciate you doing that. But sometimes it may be 5, but that's the only way we can know and everybody know. I don't know why it was canceled, because I was ready to go.
Yes, as was I.
But if we can begin that practice again, where we actually do it during the meeting, and may be better for all concerned.
And just to add to what you're saying, I agree. If we vote on it, we vote on it, then that way we just set it in stone. Because it is a lot of back and forth for.
Trustee Esparcero.
And one of the concerns I have too is, and this came up a couple years ago, and I think it's in our policy, we're supposed to be getting our draft agendas on Wednesdays. I think we got it this week, Friday at 4 o'clock, 5. It's not Natalie's fault, because I know I bugged her a bunch of times, and she's like, it's not me. And I know it's not, because she's just gathering the information. But, I mean, the purpose of the draft agenda, and it doesn't have to be complete, I would think. It's just a draft.
Right.
But there's no, looking at today's agenda, I don't understand why we couldn't have, it's not very lengthy, why we couldn't have gotten a copy by Wednesday. Instead, we got a final one Friday at 5 o'clock, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, we have a policy in place that says Wednesday. I don't understand why we're not following it, and whose fault that is.
I will take full responsibility for that one, and I met with the ELT this morning, and we adjusted some of our deadlines for departments, and we've adjusted some of our deadlines for ourselves. So we got with Natalie, we all met, and we've made some adjustments. So moving forward, we'll get better at it, but I take responsibility for that.
We tell people when they're in a hurry, then leave earlier. And I understand a lot of these things, there's contracts on there that they have deadlines, then start on them earlier.
Yes, sir.
Points well taken. My only
Thank
point
you.
was that since we meet on Mondays, well, it stands to reason that Mondays were usually free.
Right.
If we can schedule between our board meetings, a workshop or another meeting on the Monday that we're not meeting, that was my point. Or if it's Wednesday afternoon, or if it's Thursday afternoon, whatever afternoon it might be. That was my point. Give her your best day, and if it's Monday, it's Monday. And then we'll tabulate from there.
I'll give you my best day, it's Monday.
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 It's Monday.
And Wednesday, as long as it's 5:30, of course, for me, it's no problem, but I know some folks work, so if you do a Monday and then a Wednesday, it's probably better to do it after 5:30 on a Wednesday.
And I realize that staff is here overtime, and you're working past the normal business day. We appreciate that, so we'll schedule them as early as we can and get out here as quickly as we can. Did you have a comment for me, Ms.?
12C workshop?
I say we move it to the 4th,
I have no problem with that.
We have a board meeting.
right
But it
before
starts at
that.
5, we can have it right before.
Doesn't
Any
matter to me.
objections?
Move it to when?
I have Monday, the 4th, we have a board workshop on budget, human resources report, on Monday from 4 to 5.
What that will do to our budget workshops, it'll move everything back because we're one workshop behind schedule, which is the second workshop now.
So maybe
So
creative.
if we're not going to have it this week, we can definitely have it on Monday and possibly consider the third budget workshop after spring break, although there's not a board meeting scheduled then.
But if it's on Monday, that'll be fine.
Okay, and then that'll get us
mean,
back
I'm
on
just speaking for-
schedule for April for the 4th and the 5th budget workshops, which right now have tentatively been scheduled on the Mondays of the board meetings from 4 to 5.
Is that enough time, 1 hour?
Well, spring break though, you have that information you can send to us,
Yeah,
right?
we already have that
before.
information, she's going to move it back.
No, I'm not saying, I'm just saying 1 hour to do the budget workshop. It's kind of pushing it, isn't it?
And we can certainly extend those. At this time, what I'm asking is the presenter to determine the time they feel they need allotted. So when we were working on the second budget workshop, which was going over the projects
Right.
for the maintenance tax notes, I did defer that to Ms. Benavides to determine how much time they would need for that. So Ms. Benavides, do you still feel we would need the hour or more than the hour for the March 4th workshop?
Ruben and I went back and forth on this. I think we can do it in an hour. We'll get you the materials beforehand. So if it's on the 4th, you'll get it before that, Thursday or hopefully by Thursday, Wednesday, and that will help you go through it, and I think we can get it to an hour.
Just a point of clarification, the March 4th, which is going to be the projects for the maintenance tax note, are going to be moved back because we're talking about moving this Wednesday's workshop to the 4th. Is that correct?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to move, yes, the February 27th workshop,
we'll
which is
move
our
it to the-
second budget workshop, will now be moved to March 4th.
Right.
And
her
then,
projects report will be moved back to
no,
the,
that will be that report.
That will be that one, okay.
That will be that report. Then the third budget workshop was the one for human resources. And right now, I'm thinking that we would move that, just because we do have spring break, that we would move that to,
The 18th.
well, actually, that's the first Monday. I was thinking the second Monday when we came back in, just so that that would give us enough time to get the documentations to everybody. So we're off on spring break the 11th, so I was thinking March 25th for the third workshop. And that would be for human resources. And Mr. Miller, do you foresee needing more than an hour for your presentation?
No, I think I need an hour.
See, that's just his presentation and the discussion, so yeah, that's,
But we don't have a meeting that night, so.
oh, okay.
Or can I suggest, if you already, it was already
Right.
prepared for the 4th, if we do one from 3 to 4 and then yours from 4 to 5, we knock it all out on the March 4th as originally you had scheduled. If that's possible, that way we don't have to have another meeting and we get everything done in one 2-hour meeting instead of 2 1-hour meetings.
Mr. President, if I may, I just want to make sure that the board has ample time to ask the questions that you want to ask, so I don't want to set the time and be unrealistic. You know, a presentation and questions and clarification in an hour seems short.
good point. If we do go past the hour on the 4th, we can open the 5 o'clock recess and take part of the closed session time as questions and then proceed after that.
And in anticipation for that, we can certainly start it at 3:30. That would give you
Some of
the
us are
hour and a
still
half. Oh, I'm sorry,
Well,
okay.
I suggest keep the 4th,
Okay.
but add both back to back. And if one goes long, we don't have a board meeting that night, so we could stay here till 6, 7.
On the 4th, we do have a board meeting. That's
do
the
have a
only
board
board
meeting.
meeting in
10
March
o'clock,
that we
yeah.
have.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, ma'am.
If we
Oh,
go
it's
back
not
to
on
the
the-
Monday, the 2nd, then it gives us plenty of time, the second meeting, because there's no meeting.
The 25th.
Right.
25th, right.
Kind of like that plan.
So right now, we're looking at March the 4th, doing 2 presentations, or the 20?
I'm in favor of one, but
On the March 4th, we do have a board meeting that day, so I think it would be difficult to provide the attention each topic needs, but.
So you're saying the 25th and do everything? We have no board meeting anyway,
No,
right?
board
sir.
meeting.
My recommendation is March 4th for the second
I don't have it on
budget
my
workshop and March 25th for the
She said that.
third budget workshop.
Okay, got it.
The 4th being the maintenance tax notes projects, and the March 25th, which is our third budget workshop, being human resources.
Yeah, but it's not.
So do we have a 25th meeting, Natalie? Mr. Vela is saying we do.
No, I'm sorry.
We don't have
That was today.
a regular.
Oh.
That was today.
Okay.
We're already in tomorrow.
Are you-
So, just to be clear, do we need,
That's good catch, Mr. Vela. He's got me all confused.
No.
So we can go to 25th then,
That's today.
in March, though.
Oh, yes, we can.
In
now,
March.
is it going to require us to move so that the board has a record of voting on the calendar? Since we are changing it from what the meeting was listed? Or just by simply having agreement, we're good to go? Okay, so,
Normally vote on the schedule anyway.
right, we normally don't, but it has changed. So now 12C, we're all in agreement, we're dropping that, right? That's what we're saying?
12C goes away.
All right.
Mr. Crane, do we have to vote on it? Would it be better to vote on it?
These right now are just notices. I don't think you have.
No, I don't think so.
Just,
And on the 25th, what time would you like to
It
start
does help to
that?
have a record, but doesn't have
As
to.
early as possible.
well, I mean, just to Debbie's point, because I don't want to be in a situation where meetings are being changed and, like she said, she had a conflict, so that maybe we should vote on it. That way it's not right now, but just down the road, so that way there's no issues and.
Okay.
The 25th of March, there's no board meeting that
No,
day.
sir.
We can start at 5 o'clock, and it's 8:30, 3.5 hours later, so we can go.
You can go.
Or we could start at 4, so we don't have to be that late.
Okay, so would you like me to repeat the schedule I've got? The
Yes.
second budget workshop has been canceled for this Wednesday, February 27th. The second budget workshop has been rescheduled for Monday, March the 4th at 4 o'clock. That second budget workshop will review the projects for the maintenance tax note. The third budget workshop will be scheduled for March 25th, 2019. There is no board meeting that Monday, and the meeting will begin at 5 o'clock, and the presentation there will be related to human resources.
Thank you. And as far as what we have scheduled of future meetings, the only thing it does is it cancels out
This Wednesday.
February 27th, 12th. All right?
Yes, sir.
I won't read those because everyone's looked at them. Any comments or questions? Thank you, Board. Appreciate that. And again, thank you, Natalie. Appreciate that. Closed session, there's no need to go into closed session. So at this time, at 8:35 PM, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. At 8:36 PM, we are adjourned. Thank you, Board. Thank you, staff.